Thank you. We forgot that part, didn't we? There we go. Okay. No, I believe that's already on. Is it not? Oh, no, there was a correspondence. Heather, no, I think we're okay there. We've got it through email. All right, so I will call today, Tuesday, May 25th, 2021, regular council meeting at 1 p.m. Live from the chambers to order today. Let's jump right into things. And are there any added items? I do have one myself, so I would like to add a closed session for an Olds College update under section 16 of FOIP, and we will put that in at the end. We have other closed sessions. Where are they?
A first closed session is 5A in regards to annexation.
5A, okay. So,
and then we have a closed session at the end of correspondence and information on
right.
FOIP section 25.
Okay, we'll put it in there again. Okay, so OC update. Okay, and I assume that's a added item that you would like to put in, Mr. Merritt?
No, you wanted to put that added item in. I was just telling you where you could put it.
Okay, but I don't see your closed session for ICC on my agenda.
It is. It's closed session number 2, FOIP section 25.
Yeah, I have a wrong agenda again. Okay, I'm gonna, yeah, Mr. Mayor.
I do have one amendment or change if you would entertain it, and that is to move 6D, welcoming and inclusive communities, up to 6A. We do have possibly Darren Reedy from AUMA joining us for that. So,
okay, we can do that. So welcoming and inclusive committees or communities up top. Very good. Anybody else with a closed set with a addition to the agenda? All right, seeing none, I will take a motion to accept as amended. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that we accept the agenda as amended for Monday, May 25th, 2021.
Excellent, thank you. Comments, questions, concerns regarding that motion?
Hi, it's Marcy.
Yes.
It's Tuesday.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Marcy. I know that. It's my Monday.
I know. It's just for
Thank
people
you
listening.
for the
Thank you.
No, and I probably said Monday as well at the beginning, and my apologies as well. All right. So as it is Tuesday, that amendment is good. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, and please bear with me, council. You are a bit scattered on my screen today. So I'll ask Mr. Fox to prompt me who's next to speak, and we'll go from there. So I'll call for the vote on the agenda. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion carries. Excellent. Let's move right along to adoption of previous minutes. May I have a motion to start? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Worship. I move that the minutes from the May 10th, 2021, 1 p.m. regular council meeting be adopted as presented.
Excellent, thank you. Comments, questions, errors, omissions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That motion carries. All right, let's continue right along. First up, we have item 3A, Emergency Management Agency. CAO, would you care to introduce?
yes, thank you, Your Worship. And I would like to introduce Jennifer Lutz, who's back again to give us an update in regards to the ICP and the situation in the province and in our town in regards to that. So without further ado, the Acting Director of Emergency Management, Jennifer Lutz.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank my team for putting together a presentation when I was off last week, spending time helping my kids with their schooling at home. So that was fun. So we'll just take a look at some of the stats that we can provide for you. So as you all know, Alberta was in a bit of a pickle with over 25,000 cases at the peak of the third wave. The situation has dramatically improved, and we're expecting a press conference at 3:30 from the Premier, and we'll see what he has to say about restrictions. Since this presentation was put together last Wednesday, the current hospitalization rate has gone down to 569, so big improvements there, and 161 in ICU. So the trend is going in the right direction. From your package, I added the next slide this morning. I think we have the wrong presentation, Sean. If we could go to the revised one. So basically, I know you can't see that, but I know Old's information is of interest, obviously. I know the provinces as well, but
that is the presentation that is in the council meeting material folder.
okay, can I share my folder? Or my okay, I can do that. So Sean, it's just not allowing me to do so. There we go, share screen. There we go. Okay, so our old stats, it appears we peaked on May 2nd at 123. So again, we were fourth in the province, highest in central zones. So some fairly unsettling numbers that we were dealing with, but what an improvement. We're down to 32 today. Our active case rate is 257 per 100,000, and we were over 1,000. So we definitely done well. It's right in line when public health measures were put in place. So we know that they're not popular for sure, but it looks like they're effective. Council had asked a couple of meetings ago for vaccination stats, and the province provides that now. So in Olds, we're at about 48.5 of our population being vaccinated. So between public health measures and vaccination and probably other factors as well, our numbers have really improved. So the IPC Incident Command Post, we continue to meet weekly. We're shifting out, trying to give people a bit of a break. So we're running an incident command every other week with more staff to give them opportunity to work in the ICP as well. Just on Mountain View stats, they're at 39. So, you know, even since last Wednesday, they're going down, and our staffing levels remain quite good. So we still have information liaison and safety officer in place, just making sure that our facilities and everything is running well, and we're communicating and talking with our partners, which has been great. Our partners include Alberta Health Services, Alberta Emergency Management, different businesses in town, and just some key emergency management stakeholders. This slide was added since your package came in place. As I mentioned, we're expecting some announcements at 3:30 today, but there are some things that were in our hands that we would like to adjust now that our numbers are looking so much better. So basically effective as soon as possible. So as soon as we can get the fencing down and the signing down, we are going to reopen the skate park. The splash park was never really closed before COVID or due to COVID, but we'll be opening it this week pending regular standard AHS water sampling. So that's kind of in line with when we normally open it. The garage sale bylaw will be lifted effectively May 27th in time for the weekend. Our town administration building is going to reopen to the public on Monday. The ball diamonds provincially, you still can't book it for competitive play as of today at this time. It might change, but we are having those open to family use, but we're not taking bookings for competitive play right now until we hear differently. And the Sportsplex and Aquatic Center is remaining closed until further notice, pending provincial restrictions. Just a note to public and anybody watching, there's still current public health orders in place. So the limits as of today is 5 for outdoors. So we still have to adhere to those public health orders if there is non-compliance there. Public Works is back to operating at full capacity. Municipal enforcement has been very busy helping the RCMP and AHS in a supportive role. ESS, Emergency Social Services, is status quo. Fire is preparing to do small group training again, and they are at full capacity staffing wise. This facility report is dated last week. You can just ignore that. And we do have seen a bit of a decline in staff uptake for rapid testing. I think mostly that's being used by RCMP and fire right now, but we'll see when people come back to work. Not that they're not at work, but back to work in the building at some time. So business recovery, we have an update coming later in the agenda. Sheena will discuss that. Our PPE has been good, and we're still tracking our time that we're using on to support the ICP. So with that, if there's any questions, I can try and answer them or to defer them to the directors.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lutz, and welcome back. We missed you last week, so it's good to have you back in place. All right, I believe, and I don't know, Mr. Fox, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I had Councillor Harper, Councillor Overwater, and Councillor Blatz. Is that correct?
Actually, the other way around.
Okay, Councillor
Blatz, Harper, Overwater.
All right, then let's start with Councillor Blatz. If you could make a motion to accept.
Yes, I will gladly start with the motion.
Start.
I move that council accept the emergency management's presentation on COVID-19 as presented for information. And I want to say thank you, Mrs. Lutz, to you and your team and to the staff that have endured the last few weeks of restrictions. I'm very pleased to see that we're going to start some reopening of our facilities. I think that will make our community very happy, providing that we can comply with some of the recommendations that are in place. Will this information be updated to our webpage and our social media, through our social media forum as well, so that people are aware? That's what our intention is. Obviously, when the signs go down and the fence goes down, people are going to be aware of that, but we will be updating the information appropriately, will we not?
Yeah, we have a communication to staff so that they'll be aware after council meeting. We wanted to make sure that you're in line with all the recommendations, and then we will inform the public starting tomorrow with social media.
Perfect. Thank you so very much. Appreciate that.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Blatz. Councillor Harper.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, through you to Acting Director Lutz. It's great to see the percentage of people in Knowles that have had at least one of the doses of the vaccine. But I understand the biggest problem is trying to get second doses. Has there been any information from Alberta Health Services as to when people in Knowles can go to their local drugstore for their second dose of Moderna vaccine?
So my mom's waiting on that list as well as many others. And right now we have no update from HS.
Thank you.
Perhaps this afternoon. Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I have a few questions, and it probably pertains to an email that all of us received this morning about why some things were closed when, you know, our mandate was, or our mantra was always AHS rules and regulations. And I guess some of the questions in the email that we received was, why were we closing some of these? I see that they're going to be open, but, you know, going forward, you know, I guess is our mantra to follow the AHS regulations and then also put in our own regulations regarding, you know, skate park, ball diamond, garage sales, you know, things like that, that we shut down when AHS, you know, didn't have that in their regulations. So, it confuses our public when, we keep saying that we follow AHS regulations, and then we put in different regulations for our own community. A lot of the other skate parks in the different jurisdictions were not closed, yet we closed ours. I realize there are, $2,000 ticket fines that could be happening. However, I think maybe, that could have been addressed better in a social media, release stating that, we were trying to control basically the number of tickets that could have been provided or given out. So how do we address this with our citizens when, I guess, like I said, our mantra is always to follow AHS regulations, and then we turn around and put in different regulations?
I can try that. I see, Mr. CAO has his hand up.
CAO?
First of all, is that we have put in different regulations in regards to controlling the situation in the province. It was not to do anything else but to make sure that AHS regulations were followed and basically maintained. So basically, the skateboard park has been a significant issue in regards to a lot of the complaints we've been getting, and we appreciate that. But we were first in the central region. We were fourth in the province with the number of cases. They were spreading rapidly. And we've always had those powers, and we've enacted those in the past. In 2020, when it came to garage sales, it was a bylaw that basically was approved by council to give the CAO powers to basically put a moratorium on garage sales. So it wasn't to enforce municipal regulations, it was to enforce AHS standards that are out there. And through discussions with enforcement, the skateboard park has always been a place where people gather beyond the numbers that were considered safe. And with 5 people, reduced to 5 people, we thought it was a proactive approach to basically addressing the number one issue, which is the health of our residents and olds and the province. And I'll ask Jennifer if she wishes to supplement that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, the province started May 6th. We put in extra measures May 7th to support the AHS enforcement issues that we knew would be in place. So if our numbers hadn't been so high, if we hadn't been fourth in the province, maybe we could have been a bit lax, but we were jumping, big jumps every day. So to support AHS guidelines, it was felt that was prudent. Sorry.
Let's have a supplemental to that. Is that okay, Mayor Michael?
As long as it's supplemental, yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying regarding the email that we all received this morning, I don't know if all administration did or not, but at the end of the day, it's fine to put in the regulations. However, we need to have a better verbiage as to why we're going the extra regulations. So as to Mr. Wagstaff, the other day he talked about the tickets, the $2,000 fines. Possibly that could have been in some of the verbiage. Some of the other verbiage could have been, to try and regulate 5 people in an outdoor facility or communal area. I'm just thinking we need some better verbiage around why we're doing things so that people understand that we're just not slapping up regulations just because we want to put in a regulation. That's so I think we need some better verbiage going forward because we're certainly not out of COVID yet. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Harper, then Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Going back to some of the closures and recommended openings, I am pleased to see that we'll be opening the skate park as well as some of the others. But I'm wondering, what is the reasoning why we are not going to open our administration office to the public until May 31st? I believe that our front counter staff are well protected, and I think that we need to try to be more receptive to our citizens who need to stop in at the town office for whatever reasons.
Mrs. Lutz or CAO?
CAO will answer that. Thank you very much for that question. It is my thought that basically for administrative purposes that we should basically get everything in order for a reopening on the Monday, the 31st. And so it was a decision based on recommendations to me that I was very comfortable with, and I think it should be opened on the 31st.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think there's a fair bit of dialogue community right now around the closure of some of our facilities and perhaps a little bit of misunderstanding that we can clarify as well. The closures of the skate park and other facilities, these discussions do happen at a council level at council meetings. And in between council meetings, we have a couple of options. We can support the command staff that are put in place to do the job and ask questions and look for answers, or we can go a little bit rogue and muddy the waters. I think this council has taken the advice of our incident command post in recommending some closures. This is the first time as council we've had a council meeting to discuss these matters, and there's further recommendations coming. And so just for the community watching, council is listening, is aware of the concerns raised, and this is the proper venue for us to have these open discussions with one another.
All right, I'm going to go to Councillor Blatz first, as Councillor Overwater's already had a chance. Then, oh, sorry, Councillor Ryan, then Blatz. My apologies.
Thank you. I must be in some far off corner because you missed me. That's okay. Thank you, Your Worship. Appreciate it. One of the things that with the closures, and I think it was just poorly put out there as to the reasons behind it, but I do think that there was legitimate reasons, and not only did the AHS say limit 5 people to an outdoor any kind of outdoor events or whatever, they also recommended that only those 5 should be from 2 families. So they even limited it even further than that. So I'm not sure if everybody is aware of what the restrictions that are coming from AHS, and also these guidelines from them are also fluid and they fluctuate all the time, and so it's very hard to be always on the ball and be responsive to all of these things and all these changes. And certainly it does create a little bit of chaos and some anxiety amongst our citizens, and we totally understand that, and council is listening to what people are saying loud and clear. But it's always been our stance to follow the AHS rules, and I don't think we should be deviating from them at any point, simply because that's the protection of the community is foremost, and we want to reduce the risk of spread. And certainly whatever has happened, the current restrictions have certainly helped, because look at the numbers that dropped. So I think that they have the favored results. And I really appreciate the work that our people do at the ICP. Thanks.
Excellent. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree partially with what Councillor Ryan has said, and I want to go a little further in Councillor Thompson's comments too. We have not really gotten into any verbiage with social media, any of us as council, as this is the avenue people do have to bring concerns to us, either through our emails or our phone numbers or something else. And I agree that's where it should be done. And also it's really unfortunate that AHS didn't really make clear rules on these last restrictions. They did stipulate 5 people and only 2 per household per se, but they also did not stipulate skateboard parks or splash parks or anything else, which made it very convoluted for the general public to understand. So although we have been following those AHS guidelines, and I stand by what we've done, we could have done a much better job at how it was all presented, and it's a lesson learned. I mean, this is a very fluid situation for everyone. There's probably no right or wrong way to communicate any of this information. And our ICP has done a tremendous job as everyone else, and tried to get the information out as best we can. So I think that we just need to move on from this, and hopefully we'll see what today brings. And perhaps we're on a downward trend for all of this. And as people can and are willing to get vaccinated, perhaps we will see an end to all of this sooner than later. And maybe we will have a normal summer, finally.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Bennett, then to Overwater.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too agree with most of that. AHS definitely could have explained further so that councils in Alberta could have made perhaps better choices for closures, but the numbers are down, and I appreciate all the work the ICP has done. Great job from all of the team, and our numbers are down, and I think that we have to respect the 5 people until AHS says something different. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, since I started this conversation, I want to make it very clear that I am in very good support of the Incident Command Center that we have. We have great accolades from the province, and other communities do follow what we are doing here. However, to Mr. Thompson's comment about council going rogue, I don't think this council has ever gone rogue on any verbiage out in the community at all. So maybe I misunderstood what you said. However, at the end of the day, all I'm saying is we need to have proper verbiage so that our residents understand the reasons why we are doing things, and just not put up signs saying it's closed. We need to make sure that they understand that. And I do support the reasons why we closed it, because our numbers have gone down greatly. And as Councillor Blatt says, possibly we'll be able to have a normal summer should we ever get to that point, and everybody gets their vaccine and be part of the solution and not part of the problem by not getting vaccinated. Thank you.
Great. Councillor Thompson, then Harper.
Thanks, Your Worship. My term rogue probably isn't the best use of words. I think what I'm trying to articulate is that the concerns that our citizens have around the Alberta Health Services guidelines and proposed closures and things creates a situation where health becomes a political matter. And as members of the local municipal council, we have the option to wade in there or take the advice and guidance of the professionals. And I think for the most part, this council has done just that. We've listened to our ICP. We've honored the rules and regulations that the province has put forth, and we've tried to administer them with the safety of the public in mind. Now, in council meetings, we do have the opportunity to discuss these things, and this is the proper venue, and that's all I was suggesting. Just to maybe provide an opportunity for some discussion. We've talked a little bit about fines and stuff today as well. And I think we've heard that in the background, the suggestion that there could be fines, but I don't think we've made any comments publicly as council about potential fines for people at the skate park or in other places. I wonder if DDEM Lutz could talk to us about the penalties and issues that could arise for people that do gather or do not adhere to the public guidelines by Alberta Health Services at this time.
Mrs. Lutz?
Yeah, we did get direction from AHS and the province, Mr. Kenny, Premier Kenny, that enforcement needed to be stepped up. So people have had an opportunity to be educated for the last 15, 16 months. Enforcement hasn't been consistent, and the province was trying to alleviate that by putting more gears in place so enforcement would be issued versus verbal warnings and more education and more education. So the RCMP is still the lead. AHS is the ultimate lead, then RCMP, and we're a supportive role. but they have made steps that if infractions are seen, that enforcement would occur, and it's up to $2,000 for, and maybe somebody from Doug, if you want to jump in on the enforcement piece a little bit more, but my understanding is the minimum fine is $2,000 now.
Director Wagstaff?
You may wish to defer to Director Andrew for
Oh, sorry.
municipal enforcement. Thank you.
Probably be a, yeah.
He is
No, I'd
here.
rather let Director Wagstaff take this one. The information that we have is that, again, AHS is trying to provide framework and direction as to what they'd like to see. AHS as an entity will look at the fines and closures of business related activities or the large mass gatherings. And so their staff investigate those complaints, and then working with ALGC and other agencies, they can remove remove liquor licenses or food handling permits or things like that. But as far as individual compliance, they have left that down towards the RCMP or municipal enforcement. And again, if there are complaints made and people are found to be in contravention of the health orders, then they've asked for full cooperation to seek compliance through ticketing or whatever means the law enforcement agencies deem necessary. Again, there are lots of misnomers that have gone about that the mask mandate that was put in place was not being enforced, and there was some issues in the wording in the original document that they have since revised, and it is still in place and functional and can be enforced. And to our knowledge, thus far in recent weeks, we have not had any enforcement actions taken by our agency or the Olds RCMP, but that is very fluid and could happen based on call complaints.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Andrew. I have Councillor Harper, then Overwater.
Yeah, just one last word on this subject. Well, I guess Councillor Overwater is going to have that last word. I just wanted to say that we need to also thank the vast majority of our citizens for cooperating through all of this time, adhering to Alberta Health Services regulations and rules, because it's only due to their efforts that our numbers have gone down. So thank you to all of our citizens.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Very good point, Councillor Harper.
Very good point, Councillor Harper.
Yeah.
You go.
Overwater?
Thank you, Worship. Possibly, you know, we as council keep talking about did you knows, and maybe that could be something that could be put out there. Like, did you know if you are in a group of more than 5 that aren't your people, you know, there could be a $2,000 ticket fine as per the regulations that we can enforce. And you know, and I guess that's one reason why the skate park was closed, is we didn't want to have to go there and find all these people and have all these kids going home with $2,000 tickets. So, you know, I think if we get ahead of some of this stuff before we all of a sudden post it, say we're closing this, that, and whatever, this is the reason why we're doing that. We are, you know, protecting you, we're protecting everybody, but you know, we're also saving you some money in your pocketbook, which a lot of people's pocketbooks are running short. So I just think, you know, a did you know is that could happen with some of these things. And again, I support the ICP. They do a fantastic job. Your work is relentless, and I can speak for all of council, support you 100%. I think we're just saying that we need some good verbiage out there for our citizens. Thanks.
Excellent. All right. Last word, Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship. We've also heard from our citizens that some of our messaging's a little backwards, in that we've been promoting people's use of parks and outdoor amenities, while also asking them to reduce their gathering and numbering numbers and such. And so we just ask that administration consider that as we move forward in the coming months, and try to ensure that the communication is such that it doesn't come across as contradictory.
Very good.
Thank you for that feedback.
All right, Mr. Merritt, did you want to chime in there?
I just want to thank our whole emergency management team for their efforts over the past 17 months. We do get information from the province, and it's not always 100% released at the same time. Sometimes it's a few days before we get clarifications. And we do our best to communicate to our public and to your public, basically, that here's the situation. I just want to reiterate that the number one reason for these restrictions were basically the fact that we were so high up in the list in regards to the town of Olds was fourth in the province when we put these in place, and we did our best to basically try to mitigate a health situation through what means that we've had and used in the past, and those are really closures of our facilities or the bylaws that we have in place. And we do appreciate the support of council in our endeavors, because we bring this to council every council meeting, I think, for the past 17 months. And this is a golden opportunity to have the discussion. And absolutely, our residents have been great throughout this. And while they may have different sides to the situation, we do our best to try to explain to those that comment on either side of the situation. But it is a lot for people to handle, that after 17 months of COVID, we're hopefully, with the vaccinations up and the numbers down, we are seeing at least a break, or hopefully the beginning of the end of the scenario. So it's been a great run for our ICP team to stay together, to enlarge, and to basically be able to maintain the situation here in our town to the best of our ability.
Thank you very much, CEO Merritt, and absolutely, Mrs. Lutz, the work that you and your ICP have done is fantastic. And much to Councillor Harper's point, the residents of Olds have been fantastic throughout this. I know there's been some misunderstandings, but at the same time, to see the plummet in our number over the last 2 weeks has been very heartening, and congratulations. Thank you very much to all of our residents here in town. All right, we have a motion on the table to accept for information. I will call the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That motion carries. All right, let's move along. We have business arising out of minutes or unfinished business. Is there anything arising out of minutes or any unfinished business? All right, seeing none, we'll move along to bylaws. First item is item 5A, bylaw 2021-08, a road closure for which we need to have a public hearing. Is there anything you want to say before I get into my MGA spiel, CAO?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, we do have Craig Teal here from PCPS to basically present for us. And with that, I'll let you start the public hearing and go the normal route that
we'll go there. All right, a little bit of housekeeping. Section 172 of the MGA states that you may not take part in the discussion and decision-making on any matter in which you have a pecuniary interest. The legislation attempts to ensure that you are not discriminated either for or against by virtue of your membership on council. So if you do have a pecuniary interest, you are to disclose that you have an interest and its general nature. You are to abstain from the discussion on the matter and from voting, and you are to leave the room until the matter has been dealt with, and you should make sure that your absentation is recorded in the minutes. You are not to be discriminated against and are entitled to participate in a public hearing as a member of the public. So I hereby call public hearing for bylaw 2021-08 to order. Mr. Teal, would you like to make a presentation?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Yes, I will. I keep it brief. I believe I'm allowed to share my screen.
Yes.
No?
Yeah, I just got to pick which one I want to share.
Oh,
That's it. Make sure I'm sharing the right one,
okay, as long as.
preferably with the RFD. So hopefully that's, you're looking at the RFD. And your worship, I'm going to use this exhibit mostly. So the purpose of bylaw 2021-1-08 is to close the portion of service road that's just on the north side of Highway 27, 46th Street, at the northeast corner of the intersection with 57th Avenue. You can see that the area we're talking about is highlighted in red on the graphic or the small picture on the right-hand side of the RFT. Locally known as the Brick is the building that's immediately to the north of the area in the red. And the purpose of the closure is to largely eliminate the access points here off 46 and here off 57th Avenue, close to the intersection, and take the service road from the front and move it to the back. That is consistent with the Alberta Transportation Functional Plan for Highway 27 on how gradually a series of changes are expected to be made when the opportunity arises, going down the service roads and various intersections of Highway 27 through the town of Olds. A similar approach was done, it's hard to believe it's already been approximately 3 years since it was done for the Circle K to the immediate east, where the service road in this location was closed, and then the space going up the east side and across the north was provided. And this road closure is one of the steps necessary to facilitate that last missing piece, to have a 9-meter addition to the lane to extend a local road out here, roughly where the hand is moving, which I hope we can all see, to reach a new access point along 57th Avenue and create that safe setback distance from the major intersection here. The road closure bylaw and process is one step in the overall package. Council will see a few other things come forward. Road closures in the town of Olds do require the Minister of Transportation's approval. So if council chooses to move ahead after hearing from anyone else who wishes to speak about the bylaw, that is really the next step for the bylaw. Will be up to the minister's office for their sign off before it comes back to town council for second and third reading at a later date. With that, your worship, be happy to field any questions about the nature of the road closure of the process.
Sorry, I was on mute there. Thank you very much, Mr. Teal, for your presentation. So presentations before council shall be brief and to the point and limited to 5 minutes. Council shall not be allowed to cross-examination of a person giving information, and it is not necessary for the person giving the information to verify his or her qualifications. Council may ask questions of each speaker after each presentation for clarification purposes. No debating or questions from the floor will be allowed, and no written or verbal submissions will be received by council after the public hearing is closed. Persons addressing council will state their name and address and indicate if they are speaking on their own behalf or for a client, a company, or a citizens group. So at this time, I would like to make the first call for those who are in support of the proposed bylaw to make a presentation. And just for public knowledge, our legislative clerk has taken and provided me with a list of people who'd like to speak at this public hearing. For the time being right now, I have nobody to speak in favor, nobody to speak opposed, and 2 individuals to speak as deemed affected. So, but we will listen if somebody has come into our meeting at this point in time, and if they would like to speak in support. Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading a comment in our comment section. So, seeing nobody jumping forward, or and for those individuals on telephones and things like that, just unmute yourself and speak up if that's possible, and we will hear from you if you are in support. All right, seeing none, I will make the second call for individuals who are in support of the proposed bylaw to make a presentation. Still seeing none, I will move along and ask for the first call for those who are opposed to the proposed bylaw to make a presentation. And nobody jumping forward, I will move along to the second call. For those who are opposed to the proposed bylaw. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move along to those deemed affected. And first on my list, I have Terry Hayes from Shannon Drive in Olds. Is Terry Hayes available to speak?
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We certainly can. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'll keep this short. I think my question has been answered. In the event that this bylaw gets carried and it becomes a service road, actually I live at 4533 Shannon Drive, which is directly behind the brick. Would the intention be to pave that portion of the lane, and also would the intention be to pave the whole back alley? Because right now I believe it's a liability. It's a terrible state of disrepair. So my question is, would paving be a consideration?
Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll go to CAO, or would we go to Director Wagstaff?
Maybe Mr. Teal could speak to this as he's been heavily involved with the discussion. I think I know what the answer is, but I'll ask Craig to speak to it.
Thank you, Worship. That's I'm not sure if I about the setup here, but I in my view, yes, I think the overall intent is to have a paved roadway at some point in the future. What I don't know myself is the timing of that and where that may fit in terms of whether or not that's a town capital plan item or whether or not there's a cost share or what the arrangement is. So unfortunately, Your Worship, I can't speak to the timing on that.
Okay. All right. Is there any other admin that would like to speak to that at this point in time? Mr. Merritt?
I may be wrong, but I thought that the situation would be addressed if there is a change to the ASP that's required. So when we are making the adjustment, the likelihood is that it would be paved.
All right. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. That answers your question, I hope.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. All right, let's move along to Dara Patel from 46th Street, Old Alberta.
I did have her, but I no longer see her in the participant list.
Okay, well, let's give her maybe a minute and see if we can't have her reconnect. Have you got a telephone number there for her? Okay. Okay, if you've got a pen and
Mr. Mayor, you're on mute.
yeah, I intended to. We were going to give out a phone number for Ms. Patel, but I think we'll just wait a couple minutes and see if she comes back to us. Let's see that there. I think what I'm going to do is I will phone her myself. Okay. Oh, that's not right. Hello, Dara. It's Mayor Mazichka. How are you today? Good. I think we've cut you off. Yes.
The mayor is just on the phone with her.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you didn't want to speak? Okay. All right. No, you don't have to join the meeting if you don't want to speak. You do want to speak. Okay. Yeah, then please join the meeting would be easiest. Okay, we'll hold for you. All right, thank you. Okay, she is going to join us, so just give us a second to get her looped back in. Okay, there we go. All right, Ms. Patel, there we are.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, yeah, myself, Dhara Patel, and I'm the dealer at the Circle K in Olds, and I live in Olds too with our community. So, my stuff is I joined this meeting because, you know that it's only one way for our property, right? People can go on that side, but not on the other side. So they have to use the brick property. And thank you so much for Mr. James Carpenter that he let us using his property. But the thing is, after the food trucks, there are 4 food trucks, now 1 fruit truck, now every now and then the initial growers, they are there too. So as maybe you guys know that you guys they guys close the road as well, right? So if you guys can open us access for us with our property, or maybe fix our back alley so our customers, they can use our Circle K, because you know that too, the Circle K, it's a big name too. And our business is very down, sir. Our business is more than 32% down compared to last 2 years. Last year, COVID hit, so I can understand. So Circle K compare before that year in 19, and they said what's going on, and I was like, okay, this is the reason that they closed the road. So our customers, they don't want to come here because that road, it's like a brick road. It's not a road for vehicles. Maybe people, they park there and they just walk through that road. So our customers, they are very scared to drive through that road. So they said it's only one access to Dhara, so we can't come here, and we are so sorry that we can't support you. And I guess they send you guys email too in town of Olds too. So if you guys can help us, maybe open that access on our left side of our property, it should be really good for our business too. Otherwise, I don't know, Circle K is not doing good right now, for sure. We are not doing good here. So if you can hear our request, sir, it should be good for us.
I think we do have a plan. I'll just let Mr. Teal explain what's going on with the access into Circle K. Right now, there's the right in and the right out off of the highway, right in front of your Circle K. And then the proposal is to close the road in front, but open up the road in the back. So the alley will be repaired and eventually paved. And Mr. Teal, does that give access on the east side or the west side of Circle K to get into the front?
Okay. So you guys have a plan for just repair the back alley?
We do. I believe Mr. Teal will hopefully enlighten us a little bit more.
Okay. Your Worship, your description was very accurate. Thank you very much. I think the only added touch which we probably have to look at is the role of an easement across the service road and the brick property, and to see if that's a possibility the owner is prepared to accommodate. But the plan generally right now is, yes, move the service road to the north, across the north of the brick, pave that so that people could then come across the north and come down to Circle K using the road that's on the east side of the Circle K location.
Okay, so the road in between Sandy's and yourself will have access from the alley to the front of your building.
Perfect.
All right, and we are planning on repairing that back road and eventually paving it as well.
Perfect. No, thank you so much for that, sir. Yeah.
Okay, I hope we can, let's maybe just follow up with Director Wagstaff. We'll certainly be able to enlighten you a little bit more. Our staff here, he's the Director of Operations. Acting Director.
My comments were going to mirror exactly what Mr. Teal had previously stated. That this opens up the back portion to be the service road.
And the east side. Excellent. Yeah, that should hopefully help access to Circle K.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let Circle K know for sure for that, because they said like you have to talk to your town, and I was like, okay, and now I'm going to, because I'm the dealer here, so it's my responsibility too. So I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to the town. Okay. And no, thank you so much that you guys are supporting us, and I'll let them know too, for sure.
If there's any further questions from them, please reach out to Director Wagstaff or Mr. Teal.
Yeah, for sure, sir, for sure.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ms. Patel.
Thank you so much.
All right. So that brings us through the list, although I will ask one more if there is anybody else who would like to speak as deemed affected by this particular bylaw. All right, hearing or seeing none, I will ask if council has any comments or questions. Oh, whoa, there's a flurry of hands. I believe Councillor Harper came first, and then the other four tied, I think. So I will just go on my screen. So Councillor Harper, then Overwater, then Blatz, then Ryan, then Bennett.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm glad to hear that the town is looking at fixing that back alley. And I think we need some assurances that will happen sooner than later if we pass this bylaw to close the other exits. That alley is in terrible condition.
Absolutely. Yes, Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, that was one of my questions, as long as with Councillor Harper, to make sure that not in the future we're going to pave, but you know what, once we start using that, we better be paving it, because if it is a road use that is into these businesses, that's imperative for their business that they have good access. Well, I also want to know why we only have right in, right out on the north side of the highway, whereas on the south side of the highway, traffic can get in, they can cross the road, they can cross the traffic coming from the west, they can cross into the businesses on the south side. So why is it one way for one side of the highway of 27, and why is it a different way for the other side of Highway 27?
Well, I've looked at that. I've heard that same comment from several people. You're talking about the liquor store that used to be the Shell station?
I'm talking about any business along the south side of Highway 27. They have access to be able to cross the oncoming traffic from the west to get into their business. So why is it different for them versus the other side?
Mr. Teal, do you have an answer for that?
Certainly, Your Worship. I think what you're seeing is bit implementation of the overall plan as the opportunities have come up. We've had opportunity to make changes in some areas, and the opportunity has just not arisen in other cases. So, for example, when the former high school site on the north side was redeveloped, a cul-de-sac was created there, and there's some opportunity to change some of those access points. The Circle K a few years ago was another opportunity that came up. And now the redevelopment that's coming up for the brick or proposed and in discussions is the next opportunity to make further changes, all towards implementing that overall functional plan.
Supplemental, Mayor Majishka, we've had new business open on the south side of Highway 27. So why weren't these traffic measures implemented for a new business on that side of the road?
Does seem odd. For
It
example,
doesn't seem fair to me.
Cope Fine Meats just brand new opened in a new location, and they're not required to write in or write out. That I mean, a lot of this is Alberta Transportation's doing. It's not so much the town, I don't believe. Mr. Craig, maybe you can, or Mr. Teal, you could shed a little more light on that.
Fortunately, on that one example, I don't think I can, Your Worship.
Okay. Okay, well, we maybe want to do some follow-up with Alberta Transportation.
Got another hand waving
Director
there.
Wagstaff has his hand up.
Well,
so-
two pieces, if I may, Your Worship. One is we can come back with to council to just give an update as a reminder to the highways, the Alberta Transportation's master plan for Highway 27 through the community. With that, you know, to refocus back to, you know, this particular piece as been understood that as we do it, each development as they come up, they're reviewed to that specific area and what the long-term aligning it to the long-term vision was. Again, we'll have to come back to speak to the south side on some of the local businesses. What we do know is right in that area that we're speaking about on Highway 27, the preference of Alberta Transportation is to actually have a barrier in the middle there. Again, they don't have the funding, haven't provided any funding to do that type of work. So we are trying to align things so that over time, we don't have to go back and fix them. This is one of those as it's been developed, that service road all the way from Tim Hortons, the south on the north side. It's been not just recent years, it's been a long-term vision to try and create that service road that goes separate from Highway 27 all the way along. That was the point to the right in, right out that was developed when Circle K developed. Now this last corner, in order for it to develop, we're working on aligning that corner to the long-term master plan as well.
All right, thank you. I have Councillor Blatz, then Ryan, then Bennett, then Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Director Wagstaff, for that update. That was one of the questions I also had, but I just want to make sure that we have reassurances that we will in fact be looking at doing something with that back alley, not sooner than later, as soon as we possibly can. I think the other thing too that I want to ensure is that those businesses there, that we keep all open lines of communication so that those people are aware of what we're doing or what's being done and all the work that will be entailed to do so, so that they're always all aware of the situation.
Excellent point. Thank you very much, Councillor Blatz. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to say something similar to Councillor Blatz in the fact that, in fact, I won't support the closure of this roadway unless we do already have a plan in place to pave that service road. Listen, there's a service road and then there's the lane. Both of them right now, if you went and drove by there after this rain, you'd see nothing but a mud bog. I am fully in support of Ms. Patel and Mr. Hayes and their comments about it being just an atrocious shape. That laneway has always been bad, but now it's even worse. There's lots of vehicles going in and out of there because of the food trucks now. It's been more and more use, and I don't think that we should be going ahead and closing a road, that particular access point. Although right now it is closed anyways, a mute point, because they've got food trucks parked in front of it, of that entrance way up, further up closest to the highway. But I don't think we should be doing anything until we have the plan in place to do the paving, because I think it'd be just awful for access to those businesses if they have to go through that mud. I certainly wouldn't drive through there, and I agree with both of those people who spoke earlier about how bad it is. But also I want to get clarification about this other access to service road on the other side of the of Circle K. What was that about? Because it's the first I've heard of it, but I'm also not in favor of that in and out that was built. So I think limiting access to businesses along there is just not acceptable to me.
Okay. Mr. Teal, would you like to address that again?
Your worship, I don't have a specific answer to that one at this stage. There is an opportunity in the process for us to come back to council before second and third reading with some of the information that you've been asking about. And we'd be certainly between myself, the CAO, and Mr. Wagstaff, we'll be able to put something together for that step in the process.
CAO?
Your worship, and we will be in contact with the Department of Transportation here in Alberta because they are key to any development along their provincial highways. And therefore, we will get the information, and maybe it'd be good for them to do a presentation on their highway access into the town as opposed to us trying to answer for them on it. I think that they'd be more than happy to do a presentation sometime between now and if this is approved to go to transportation, it'd be a golden time for us to do it before second and third reading, as Mr. Teal has indicated.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, I have Councillor Bennett, then Thompson, then Harper, then Overwater.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have, just for clarity, when that road is closed, there will be no independent right turn as there is now. And where would the food trucks park? And in addition to that, I truly appreciate Mr. Hayes and Ms. Patel for sharing their concerns, because we do not want to affect our businesses. And I agree that the alley, we've had complaints on that alley for a number of years, and it does turn into a mud bog. And we have yet to do anything about it. So that should be on top of the list. So I appreciate that you'll come back with other information from us, and I would appreciate the presentation from AT as well. So just for clarity, Mr. Teal, the right turn and food trucks?
Mr. Teal?
Certainly, Your Worship. I'm going to share my screen again because I'm not sure I've got the right turn location correct. This access point here should be blocked with concrete blocks right now. So I don't think that's the right turn that we're referring to.
No, it's the highway, yeah, to 57th Avenue.
Oh, up here across the, okay, to come back down in this way, because the cinder blocks go, or sorry, the concrete barrier goes here across the old driveway as well.
It does, but there's still an independent right turn lane below that.
Down here.
Yes.
That's completely concreted off. Yeah, okay. So that's the kind of access point too close to the intersection Alberta Transportation is purposely trying to eliminate.
Okay.
Which is the point of the moving the service road access from what used to be historically here up to this point, to have basically not two intersections packed together, which creates quite a few safety concerns and just the ability of traffic to flow. So that's why they're interested in turning this back. In the short term, until it's physically sold off to actually sold off to someone else, the road closure, even if it's closed, remains in the town's control, and the food trucks can continue to use it for that purpose, which, as I understand it, they've been kind of assembling in this area here, and then coming across the private property with the consent of the owner of the brick.
Yeah, that's correct.
So
okay, thank you.
All right. I believe we're going to Councillor Thompson next.
Thank you, Your Worship. I got to say, I'm also a little disjointed by this conversation, and the reason I'm a little disgruntled or disjointed is we've had development along this highway that has proceeded over the last dozen years, where in some cases we've enforced or made change, and in other cases we haven't. So I would suggest that it's probably a great opportunity for us to engage transportation and make sure we have that understanding. Perhaps there's an opportunity to open some of the fences that would allow people to get access off the back of some of these lots and less queuing on the highway. But regardless of what we do, perhaps those roads do need to be paved along the alleyway so we can use them better. And certainly we as council and administration, I believe, could point to several examples where the optics wouldn't be very good if we didn't treat all of these parties the same.
All right, Councillor Harper, then Overwater.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I think it's a wonderful idea that we invited Alberta Transportation to our council table. The Castle Glen study, which is the Alberta Transportation consultant study that took place 15 plus years ago, is what they are adhering to, and Town of Wolds has been actually slowly implementing, and we need to all make ourselves more familiar with that particular study again. I just needed to know, why is this request for road closure in front of us? Is at the request of the property owner now, or is this at the request of Alberta Transportation?
Mr. Teal.
Thank you, Your Worship. The timing of the request is very much driven by the desire to redevelop the brick property. So there is a connection there. And it's probably fair to say that property owner would appreciate us moving sooner rather than later, although I do appreciate council needs to hear the information that you've requested before you can move on with those kind of decisions.
Thank you.
All right, Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so that entryway is closed already, like with the food trucks blocking it. Did we made a decision to close that? I don't recall that coming to me for any vote. And also, I'm not prepared to grant this until I get a presentation from Alberta Transportation. Councillor Harper talked about the Castle Glen study that was done. You said, 15 years ago. Our town was probably almost half the size of what it is today. So is that study still pertinent? Did it need to be updated? And yeah, so like I said, I'm not prepared to vote in favor of this until I see a presentation from Alberta Transportation.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think there was a question in there, more a statement. So,
yep, statement.
All right. With the planning, Mr. Teal, would you like any closing comments before I close off our public hearing?
The CAO would like to try to get your attention.
No, we basically have an RFD for you to consider in regards to moving this to transportation. It would be my recommendation. You're not approving this. That is after transportation does it. But if we don't move this to transportation, it just delays the whole change from occurring. And you still have second and third reading to approve. So it doesn't mean you have approved anything. It's just basically transportation is okay with the proposal.
Right.
We're not okay with the proposal yet.
Well, we need to hear from Alberta Transportation, so we should engage them, correct?
Yes, just Your Worship, just point out the CEO's comments. The next step in the process of council was to say, let's move on, would be up to Alberta Transportation. It does take considerable amount of time for the minister's office to review this, even though it will be consistent with their own transportation plan. And that does give us the time to still, once they've done that over the next 2 months or so, collect the information. And there is another go, no go decision for council in second and third reading. Just because the minister has signed off on it doesn't mean council can't change your mind at second reading, well, or third for that matter, but it only comes back once more for council.
Excellent.
So just to wrap that up, I would encourage to move the process forward, Your Worship, that it does get sent off to transportation, and we still ask for all the information that council has requested, including the presentation, and try to have that occur sooner, if not at the same time as second and third reading.
Okay. Councillor Harper, then Overwater.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. If I recall rightly, the last time we did a road closure, it took approximately 8 months for Alberta Transportation to reply to us. So I'm more than happy to move this forward and am prepared to make a motion.
Okay. Well, we're still in a public hearing, so I'll go to Councillor Overwater, then Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. So if this study was 15 years old, were these businesses aware of the road situation that was going to happen when they put the businesses in there? Like, I don't know. I see some people shaking their head. Yes, they were, but I don't know that they were aware of this.
CAO?
Make a comment that we ourselves have long-term planning documents, whether they're IDPs or MDPs or ASPs. Basically, often they have a lifespan well beyond 15 years. My expectation is if there was a major study on transportation routes along highways 2A and 27, they would basically been informed of what that would have meant. There's a lot of change in businesses in the period of time. And I dare say that a lot of our decisions in regards to the West End have been based on that transportation plan. It's oftentimes dealing with existing properties that we're going to have the cost and the adjustments to make. So just not every plan is a 2 or 3 year plan. Oftentimes they do have a long-term nature to them.
Excellent. Thank you, CAO. Councillor Blatz, and then Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I was just going to suggest that we move this along, particularly if we've still got second and third reading. But I just refresh my memory, and perhaps maybe Mr. Merritt would be able to answer this question. But I thought at one point in time, Council had asked to see that highway study. And because there's been an awful lot of mention of it, and I don't ever recall ever seeing it, I realize it's a very long, convoluted document, but I do believe that we did at one point in time asked to see that document. And I believe we initiated that conversation during our discussions of the 68th Street traffic roundabout. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, did we not have this type of a discussion, Mr. Merritt?
I'm not going to say you're wrong. I will have to double check to see if it's in the binder in regards to all the other long-term documents that we've provided to council in the library. If not, we'll have to find where it's at, and Mr. Wake's staff will give me some assistance on that. So I can't guarantee you it has been placed in the library, but I will find it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
It's on the website. Mr. Fox has just informed me that it is actually on the Town of Old's website. So,
okay, I was looking at there today for some other stuff, and I didn't really see it. So obviously, I'm not.
Well, we'll try. Oh, there's a link. Mr. Fox is proactive and sent us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fox. Mr. Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship. I was just going to say that I don't think our memory has to be that long for this one. As a business owner in town a dozen years ago, I recall being asked my opinion on it. So it is recent past.
Excellent. All right. Unless there's anything else, I will go to close the public hearing. Alrighty, seeing none, I hereby declare a public hearing for bylaw 2021-08 closed. All right, let's, I think we're going to put second reading on hold, but may I believe Councillor Harper had suggested she would like to make the motion to send the information off to Alberta Transportation.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I move that Council directs administration to prepare and submit the road closure package to the Minister of Transportation for consideration and approval.
Excellent. Comments, questions, concerns regarding that motion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor and opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. And I believe through discussion, we've agreed to table second reading and hear from Alberta Transportation first. Councillor Overwater, then CAO.
Mayor Majishka, should we have a motion to have Alberta Direct Administration to set up a meeting for Alberta Transportation to present?
We probably should do that. Mr. Merritt, did you want to speak?
Well, I want to speak to there cannot be a second reading until transportation gives approval of this plan. So that's not even in question.
No need to table. All right, then Councillor Overwater, would you like to make that motion?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Matushka. I move that we have Alberta Transportation come to council for a presentation on our transportation study.
Excellent. Comments, questions, concerns regarding that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That motion carries. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I believe that ends that portion. Now we have item 5A.1, annexation, changes in taxation conditions, CAO.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And this is a closed session under FOIP Section 21, disclosure harmful to intergovernmental relations. So I would like us to go into closed session.
All right. May I have a motion from council to go to a closed session? Councillor Ryan. You're on mute, Councillor Ryan.
Sorry about that. I was using my space bar and it wasn't working. Yes, can we, I move that council moves to a closed session under FOIP Section 21, disclosure harmful to intergovernment relations. And then who should we remain? Mr. Merritt, obviously yourself.
I would like, obviously, for Mr. Teal and for Director Wagstaff to stay, and myself.
Yep. And all council, of course. Pardon me? Director Linderman or no?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. All right. Questions, comments, concerns regarding that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That motion is carried. All right. Thank you very much. We'll let, thank you. Sorry about that. There are two ways under our Zoom meeting protocol for the public to continue participating in today's meeting. The first option is for you to click on Leave the Meeting button and leave the meeting and watch our Town of Old's website and Facebook pages for live updates as to when council will return. Administration will post the meeting real convene time, and meeting attendees can rejoin at that point in time. Or number two, you can stay online in the virtual meeting platform, and administration will move the attendees into the waiting room. And when council's closed session is finished, again, we'll announce what time that will be on our social media, and then you can rejoin our meeting at that point in time. We'll bring you back into the regular meeting platform. So at this time, I'll ask Mr. Fox to do his magic and put everybody into the waiting room that needs to go there. Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for being patient with us. We dealt with our closed session. We'll jump right back into the agenda. We're still on item 5A.1. We do have two motions for consideration. Who would like to make the first motion? Councillor Harper.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I move that council authorizes a change to the Town of Wold's annexation application to delete condition 3.1c of Appendix D as an item that the town wishes to see attached to the ordering council giving effect to annexation.
Excellent. Any comments, questions, concerns regarding this? I have one, sorry, 2, 3, 4. Okay, sorry, I was just making sure I had all my councillors in plain sight. Councillor Blatz, were you just waiting to vote? Okay, seeing no questions, I will call for the vote. All in favor and opposed? That motion is carried. All right, let's move along to item number 2. Who would like to make the second motion? Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I move that council authorizes the mayor to send a letter to the Municipal Government Board Secretariat asking for this change in the town's annexation application.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Questions, comments, concerns on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor and opposed? Motion carried. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. That brings us to item 5B. CAO.
Well, thank you, Your Worship, and we're looking here at bylaw 2021-12, amendment bylaw for the 2020-18 election bylaw. And we're asking council to consider giving first, second reading and unanimous consent for third reading at today's session. And I'll have Marcy McKinnon, our legislative clerk, and our returning officer present the suggested adjustments to our bylaw.
Excellent. Legislative
Thank
clerk.
you. Thank you. It's Marcy. So as you can see in your agenda package, we've made an amendment bylaw requesting one deletion and a couple of amendments. The deletion is to delete the dates of the advanced voting for October 1st and 2nd. And I'm proposing that we replace it with just reference to this bylaw to keep the numbering in order more than anything. The second recommendation is that we change the date for requesting for us to come to a person at home for a vote to October 1st, because initially we had it as 48 hours prior to the, I guess, before the end of advanced voting. And if we are going to be changing the advanced voting, which I can explain here in a second, I won't have enough time if I let them go, because so with the great changes of the Alberta government to 4 weeks instead of 6 weeks from nomination period to the election day, we have 4 weeks less a day to get our ballots in order. That being said, our supplier is estimating a 10-day turnaround to produce them, and then we still have shipping. So to get them here, I wouldn't have them here for the first or second for the advanced vote. So I'm considering and probably going to run advanced votes from, I think, October 13th, the Wednesday after Thanksgiving, until October 16th. And we have to complete our advanced votes 24 hours prior to the election day, which is October 18th. So that is the reason for the request of date change for the requests for people with disabilities at home to put in their request. And as for the disposition of election material change, that is a legislative change from 6 weeks to 12 weeks. And I also included a consolidation of these two to show you what it could look like if we put them all together for people's ease. And I think that's about it, and would be willing to take any questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, legislative clerk. May I start with the first motion for first reading? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move first reading be given to bylaw 2021-12, amendment to the election bylaw 2020-18 as presented.
Excellent. Questions? Councillor Harper.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Through you to our returning officer, Marcy McKinnon, just assurances that we are in fact going to have an advanced poll. You've indicated just after Thanksgiving. Do we have to do another amendment afterwards when you know those dates?
Hi, thank you for the question. No, we do not, because if you look at point 16 in the bylaw, it states that as a returning officer, also within the act, that I can call those, I believe it says the advanced voting will be established by the returning officer and advertised in accordance with the act. Our requirement is at the latest to advertise any advanced votes by September 30.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, I think I have Councillor Ryan and Blatz.
Actually, Your Worship, I'm sure it just got answered, my question, but I'm still a little bit fuzzy. So hopefully it's just not my brain going fuzzy, but so for advanced polling, so we're still going to have one, but why would we need to delete this section? Would we not still keep the section and then just change the dates to wherever you wanted to have the advanced polling? I'm not sure why.
Hi, I appreciate your question, Councillor Ryan. However, I can't be assured of when I will get those ballots. And if I don't get them until potentially depending on shipping, because everything's been late coming with COVID lately, there's no guarantees on shipping, and that's our biggest issue. So I'm trying to push the advance votes as far back as I can, which is I feel the 13th to the 16th. I intend to hold them. They will be advertised, but I have to have the ballots to hold the vote. So
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I understand. It's a little quite clearer now.
okay, thank you.
All right, Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I was just going to ask for clarification on number 16. And as per usual, our legislative clerk is right on top of all the information and very accurate in what she portrays to council. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Anybody else with a question before I circle back to Councillor Ryan? Seeing none, go ahead, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I appreciate Ms. McKinnon for providing us this information. Just a quick question: how many residents do we do voting at in their home? Do you have any idea of what the numbers have been in the past, Ms. McKinnon, and what the cost is involved in that?
For 2020 by-election, we had 0. For 2017, we had 0. It is an option we have to do in the act. As for cost, we're already working. We would do it Monday to Friday business hours. So hopefully it's a side of a death duty. You know what I mean? Like we would do it because we have to, because we're obligated to do it, and there's no issue with that. So.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious. Okay, very much.
Excellent. Any further questions? Yes, Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one further question on number 9, nomination hours. It says that they will receive nominations of candidates from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. And I believe our office hours are from 9 to 4. I know that our staff is actually in the office from 8:30 to 4:30, but will we be taking appointment only during those times for people if it doesn't work for them to get there between 9 and 4 p.m.?
So yeah, to make it easier for people, we are only accepting appointments because of the COVID regulations right now. And I am more than willing to meet or help make arrangements for them between our office hours, our regular actual office hours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I know that I trust that you will in fact get this advertised as such. So thanks.
All right. Any further questions before we have first reading on the table? So seeing no more questions, I will call for the vote. All in favor and opposed? And that motion is carried. All right. May I have a motion for second reading, please? Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that second reading be given to bylaw 2021-12, amendment to election bylaw 2020-18 as presented.
Excellent. Comments, questions, concerns regarding that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor and opposed? That motion carries. All right, may I have a motion for unanimous consent? Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that unanimous consent be given for third reading of bylaw 2021-12, amendment to the election bylaw 2020-18 as presented.
Excellent. Comments, questions, concerns regarding unanimous consent? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote and please hold your hands. All in favor? And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. That's unanimous. So we can move along and that motion carries. So may I have third reading, please? Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship. I would move that third reading be given to bylaw 2021-12, amendment to election bylaw 2020-18 as presented.
Excellent. All right. Comments, questions, concerns regarding third reading? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor and opposed? And that motion carries as well. Excellent. That brings us to New business, it looks like, and we did have a shift. So Mr. Merritt has asked that 6D become 6A, welcoming and inclusive communities. Mr. Merritt, would you care to introduce?
Thanks very much. Before I move on, I just want to thank Marcy and her team for all the changes and the adjustments that she is making through COVID. And all the changes that were made by the Local Authorities Election Act. So she's on top of things, and thank you very much, Marcy, for all your hard work on this front. In regards, thanks for moving this up. We have 3 staff persons making a presentation today on welcoming and inclusive communities. We're asking that Council hear this presentation and basically endorse the declaration on welcoming and inclusive communities, and joining a number of other Canadian and Alberta municipalities who have done so far. And I also believe that Darren Reedy from AUMA, who has done a lot of work on this over the past few years, is here to basically maybe input or answer any questions in regards to AUMA's involvement in what has happened in other municipalities, perhaps. So with that, I believe Michelle Jorgensen will start off, and then I believe Debbie Rogers and Kelly Lloyd will also participate in this presentation, and Darren possibly as well. So Michelle, shall I hand it off to you?
Thank you, Mr. Merritt. Thank you, Your Worship and Council, for your time today, and Sean for running the technology here for us. We have a video embedded in here and needed his technical expertise to make sure that worked out for us all right. As you will recall, back in September, I presented to Council at their P&P meeting then, and was asked to bring this back to a regular meeting of Council for a decision. Recognizing that we need to look at this through the lens of being welcoming and inclusive internally, Kelly Lloyd and Debbie Rogers are also joining me to present today to speak to WIC and strategic alignment, as well as our organizational culture. We're also so pleased that Darren Reedy from AUMA could join us today, and he will be a resource for further information after our presentation. Thanks so much, Darren, again for being here. So we'll go to the next slide, please. And this is a refresher again from our presentation back in September. And you can move along to the next slide when you're ready. Through partnerships, municipalities are supported to implement policies and practices to help overcome issues of racism and discrimination. The partners include the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association, the Government of Alberta, Canadian Commission for UNESCO, Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities, or CIM. CIM is a national initiative sponsored by the Canadian Commission for the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities endorses the call for a coalition of inclusive municipalities and encourages its members to join. When municipalities become members of CIM, they join a network of municipalities that are seeking to improve policies and practices to counter racism, discrimination, exclusion, and intolerance. Next slide, please. With the goal being to create communities where all residents and visitors enjoy a sense of belonging, and where diversity adds to the social and economic vibrancy of the community and improves the quality of life for all residents. Next slide. Municipal governments function at the most practical level and are directly involved in the lives of their residents. According to AUMA, municipalities are an ideal level of government to develop policies, programs, and strategies that celebrate the community's diversity and take meaningful action toward eliminating racism and discrimination. The costs of not acting can include increased social conflict and loss in sense of belonging, failure to meet municipal mandate to serve all residents, decreased participation of diverse groups in municipal affairs, including voter turnout, lower tax revenues as a result of underutilized skills of newcomers and other residents that experience discrimination, missed opportunities to increase volunteerism, productivity, creativity, and innovation, devaluation of municipal values of respect, diversity, and equality, and of course, a missed opportunity to be a world-class community. Next slide, please. I spoke with Leslie Winfield, the manager for the Olds Municipal Library, back in September, and she explained that the WIC committee that had existed from about 2008 till 2011 was largely project-based. They created resources and hosted community gatherings, but the committee was not sustained after completion of what had initially brought them together. The library continues to strive to be a welcoming and inclusive space in our community. Next slide, please. And the next one. As you can see, there are already many initiatives ongoing in our community that align with a formal commitment to being a welcoming and inclusive community. Next slide, please. And I'll invite Kelly Lloyd to jump in here.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone. So the Town of Olds Council is very strongly speaks in support of sustainable service delivery. And this is where the tie of all the legislative or guiding documents that council has approved over the years. And we start with the MGA, of course. And there are purposes for a municipality, two of which are tied very strongly to this, this program. One of them is to provide services that are, in the opinion of council, that are necessary and desirable for all or part of the community. And one of the other purposes speaks directly to develop and maintain safe and viable communities. And from that, in the MGA, municipalities have powers, and so these are part of the purposes. In your strategic plan, council outlined the goals to make sure that the town is committed to transparent and inclusive processes that are responsive and accountable. And also directly, the council, that Town of Olds will provide the necessary resources to ensure a safe, secure, and healthy community. Council has also endorsed the most recent municipal development plan. And in that, the vision that council has spoken in favor of is offering a good balance between economic opportunities and a high quality of life. And that in 2046, council has said Olds' success as a safe, healthy community in which to live and raise a family is built on inclusiveness and caring. Now, the principles in the MDP also mirror the principles in the current Olds Sustainable Strategic Plan. And the 5 WIC dimensions closely align to what the MDP already states. So where we see also too on a higher level overarching is one area that would be, you know, in the WIC program that Olds has already made large advancements on is the work related to Indigenous peoples, in the fact that Canada has a federal report at the Truth and Reconciliation with municipal potential objectives to complete within that. And the overarching, of course, would then be the UN that oversees. So just to give you a bit of an alignment piece, that's where it falls in our sustainable service delivery. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Thank you,
And
Kelly.
with that, yep, I'll hand it over to Debbie.
Thanks, Kelly. So some of the current initiatives that we have for the Town of Olds include a full-time heritage advisor, Truth and Reconciliation, a code of conducts for our staff, workplace violence, bullying and harassment policy, code of conduct for council, human resources formal recruitment processes that we are currently using. So we still have some work to do, but these are some of the starts that we've had that have been good for the town. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Sean. Next slide, please. Now, that list of municipalities that are part of the Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities really rolled past quickly at the end of that video. So here they are again. As you can see, to date, 82 municipalities have joined CIM and 19 are in Alberta. So the town of Olds would be in very good company if we were to formalize our commitment to being a welcoming and inclusive community by joining CIM. Next slide, please. As part of the declaration to join CIM, Council endorses the 10 common commitments that inform and guide their work. The Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities commitments are categorized around 3 areas of municipal responsibility: public interest, human rights, and diversity. And here they are. Next slide, please. To join the Canadian Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities, Council must pass the resolution to sign the declaration to join. The AUMA has toolkit templates for Alberta municipalities to support communities in achieving their goals of being a WIC. Our implementation plan is our roadmap to guide our direction. AUMA recognized that every organization and department is at a different point in their journey and have suggested starting small, even with just one action and focusing on that for a year. We've included a draft implementation plan in your council package for further discussion. And with that, if you have any questions, we look forward to taking those at this time.
Excellent. Thank you very much, ladies, for a great presentation and for this incredible initiative. Thank you so much for your time and input here. All right, may I start with a motion? Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship. I would move that Council endorse the declaration to join Canadian Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities as a commitment to fostering a welcome and inclusive community. And I applaud the staff and the other communities for their leadership in this area.
Excellent. All righty, questions, Councillor Overwater, then Ryan. You're on mute.
I know, I was going to get it before you said I was on mute. Thank you, Worship. Yeah, it was a great presentation. The video was great, but I hope if we are going to do a welcome and inclusive community, I hope the video will encompass the town of Olds. You know, what our landscape is like, what our diverse group of cultures are within our community. You know, again, the video was great, but the town of Olds doesn't have skyscrapers. And I would like it to be more directed to what town of Olds has to offer as a welcoming and inclusive community versus something that comes from a city. Just a comment.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Councillor Ryan, I believe.
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate the presentation. And I wanted to make note on the one slide where it says the local community efforts. One of the groups that we should have on that list is the Olds Municipal Library. The fact that one of the 3 main goals of the municipal library's strategic plan is to celebrate diversity, and I'm a firm believer in you know, supporting and promoting and celebrating the diversity of our community. So I think this is a great movement to join, and certainly something that I think all of council and all of the town administration already embraces.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, Councillor Harper.
Thank you. Thank you also for the presentation and the work of our staff for putting this together as well. I'm very happy to see that as part of this presentation, they have activities and timelines to those activities. I just know that we have to make a concerted effort when we make application and make dedications to these type of things, like being a welcoming and inclusive community, that we follow through on those. I just remember long before discount time, and perhaps Mr. Merritt might remember this. Do you remember when we were all going to be a promise community, and the little red wagon, that we were going to be a promise community, and nothing ever happened from it? And this was sort of an initiative by higher up levels of government. So I'm glad to see that we've got timelines and we've got commitments.
I never heard of such a thing.
Oh, it was a little red wagon that sat in our office for a long time. Go figure.
All right. Mr. Reedy, you've been very silent. Thank you for joining us. Do you have any comments or input or anything to say? We don't want you to go away without having had a word or two.
Thank you. I was asked to be here purely just as support if there was any questions, because of one of my other roles has been to sit on an advisory committee to the Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities. So I'm just familiar with the organization. So if there was any questions to that, I would be certainly happy to speak to it. And as noted in the presentation, AUMA certainly encourages municipalities to formalize this step as an effort to support the actions and to make the commitments, I guess, more to make the commitment so that it actually, the municipality does follow through. As noted, sometimes these things come up and it falls off over time. But by joining the coalition, you will continue to be contacted by the coalition, and the coalition itself is certainly at CCUNESCO is making efforts to expand its engagement with the membership, to offer more educational events and offer more opportunities for those that have become signatories to learn from each other. So I think that's one of the biggest benefits of joining from an organizational perspective, is you'll be able to gain insight and learn from what other municipalities are doing on this front. But again, thanks for the opportunity, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Reedy, for all your work through AUMA to this particular group. Mr. Merritt?
Yeah, I just want to say that Darren has been to our office to discuss this and a number of other items prior to COVID probably. So it's been a while, and he's basically been involved. I know he's talked to Michelle about this and others in our administration. So Darren is, he's here, has support today, but he has been very supportive throughout this process with us. I'm not saying he was involved in our implementation plan, but he probably may have seen it or gave some guidance to it. So thanks, Darren, for all your work at AUMA and also your close relationship with the town of Hull.
Excellent. All right. Unless there are, and again, I apologize to council with this last sharing of screens. Everybody got scattered on my screen as well. So I'm just making sure I'm not missing anybody. It doesn't look like anybody else has their hand up. So we do have a motion on the table. So at this point, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion is carried. All right. There is another motion for this RFD. So Councillor Bennett, would you like to make that?
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that Council direct administration to organize a virtual signing ceremony to celebrate and promote the Town of Old's commitment to promoting and developing a welcoming and inclusive community.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Comments, questions, concerns regarding this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the votes. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion carries as well. Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. So I just had a look at my telephone, and a fellow councillor actually texted me with regards to an earlier item on our agenda. So for full disclosure, The bylaw for the road closure, as Mr. Teal had indicated, it was initiated by a corporation that has at least one shareholder who has a business relationship with myself. And it was pointed out and asked if I have a conflict of interest. This item, Councillor Thompson is who sent me the text message. Councillor Thompson and all of council, if anybody has, it thinks that another councillor has a conflict of interest in any way, shape, or form, they should speak up before the issue comes to light. I don't often look at my text message. I do appreciate your input. I'm not quite sure my relationship with the individual that you're pointing out is of a personal nature. It's person to person. This one has a corporation in the middle of it. So I'm not sure if I do have a conflict of interest, but before we get to second reading, as this was just first reading, I will consult my lawyer and get some clarification on that. I do appreciate that you have pointed out that there is that relationship there. Earlier, I had recused myself when Mr. Carpenter, James Carpenter, was appointed to the Cape Board, because that was him personally, not one of his corporations. So I will delve into that and make sure that if I do have a conflict of interest, I will absolutely recuse myself from second reading and any further discussion on that particular subject. Councillor Overwater and then Harper.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would say that if you don't have any pecuniary interest in whatever was going on with that road closure, and if you don't have a business financial relationship with that person, then to me, there's no conflict, there's no pecuniary interest, and I don't think you should have had to recuse yourself from that discussion.
Okay. I appreciate that, but I'll get clarification from my lawyer on that particular item. With the corporation in the middle of it, that's where it gets a little bit muddy in the MGA, but I will definitely consult legal and take their advice. I believe Councillor Harper and then Blatz.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, that Councillor had sent that message to you. I also do not believe that you have pecuniary interest. We all have hundreds of friends all over this town, and every time we make a decision, it could or could not affect one of our friends, but it doesn't mean that we have pecuniary interest. I appreciate the fact that you're going to delve into it further. That's all I'm going to say.
Excellent, thank you. And Councillor Blatz?
I was going to concur that I do not believe that at this point in time you do have pecuniary interest, but thank you for your integrity for bringing it forward in an open forum as it should be done. It should not have been done via text message. It should have been brought up at the time during the conversation, and I appreciate your integrity for bringing it forward to our attention. Thank you, Your Worship.
And I don't begrudge Councillor Thompson. Please do feel free beforehand to bring these matters up so that we can talk about them beforehand. Councillor Thompson.
Absolutely, and thanks, Your Worship, for mentioning it. In the previous scenario, when we went into camera to discuss appointments, you recused yourself because of a relationship. Council did not know if it was a business relationship or what form of relationship. So my email to you asked if you had a relationship, and you know, here you're addressing it. So again, I don't have any knowledge. I just asked, and I appreciate your transparency.
But please do feel free to do it verbally and in open session. All right, excellent. Okay, so that's that. Let's move along in the old agenda back to item 6A, which was bumped, the 2021 federal census. CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. And as you are aware, every 5 years the federal census is done. It's done for a variety of reasons, but one of the most important for municipalities, it does give basically a count of population, which is often used, and it is used for municipal grant purposes. And if your population goes up, that can often lead to an increase in the grant monies that you will get. So Kelly Lloyd's done some research and looked into this, and I'll ask Kelly to do a brief presentation on the 21 federal census, and there's a motion to follow. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Merritt. Yes, before you, council, is just a little bit of information from Census Canada. As we all know, May 11th was called Census Day in Canada, but subsequently to that, there are still some outstanding individuals that may not have completed their census. And this RFD in front of you provides an avenue for council to encourage residents to complete the census. And in the package also outlines what is the census used for. And so the supplemental document outlines, it's very important, as the CAO has mentioned, to ensure that we can get all we can get for applicable programs and things to be able to enhance our community and our residents' quality of life. So with this, Census Canada has supplied a ready-made campaign program already. So directly following council's recommendation, we should be releasing some items to encourage residents to do so.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mrs. Lloyd, for that update. May I start with a motion, Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Worship. I move that council supports the 2021 federal census and further encourages all residents of Olds to complete their 2021 federal census to contribute to the future of Olds in order to produce the right programs for our community. And I do just have one question.
Absolutely.
Should we be putting this on our electric monitors on the east and west side of town? Just saying, reminder, please complete your census. This helps your community, or something to that nature. Thank you.
I can see no wrong with doing that. It would be good to have a few days promotion, at least leading up to the final tallying of our census. So certainly something we can do.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments or questions, concerns? We have a motion on the table. Oh, Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Worship, and I agree. I think the more information that we can get the general public, the better. And it's unfortunate the federal government unfortunately didn't provide us this information prior to May 11th. Then we could have reminded people earlier to fill out their census and get the work done. So I appreciate the work that's been done for this so far, and the more information we can get out, the better.
Perfect. Yes. All right. Anybody else with comment, question, or concern before I call for the vote? Seeing none, I will do just that. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion is carried. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's move along to item 6B, 2021 budget adjustment, CAO.
And I'm going to ask Director Linderman to speak to these potential budget adjustments. So Director Linderman, thanks for your presentation.
Thank you. So today we have requests coming forward for one operating budget adjustment and two capital budget adjustments. I'll start with the operating adjustment. We were recently notified that the Town of Coaldale's application for the intermunicipal collaboration component of the ACP grant was denied. We were a partner in this application. It was through Old Man River, a GIS enhancement project, which included both orthophotography and LiDAR for all the participating municipalities. So Old Man River would still like to proceed with this project, but at the cost of the municipality. So the cost for both of these things would be $32,000. It is being suggested that this be added to the GIS budget line under planning, and the funding be reduced for the transfer that is currently going to general operating reserves. So this would result in no change in the overall bottom line of the budget, just a shift from the transfer to reserves to the GIS expense line. So I'll stop there if you had any questions on that particular project before moving on to the capital.
All right, may I start with a motion for the first motion on the RFD, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council approves the adjustments to the 2021 approved operating budget as presented. And I have a question with regards to this item. Later on in the documentation, it says that they could reapply for this grant next year. Why would we not wait for them to do that? What's the rush and why? And is it, something that is that price, that 32,000, is that the same for all the municipalities?
So as far as the grant, first, it's not obviously guaranteed that we would be approved next year. And it's also not guaranteed that the grant will even still be there next year. And then as far as, it's not the same price for each municipality. I believe it depends on size and the area covered. So they gave us a price that is old specific. And it depends on how many municipalities participate. And then I don't know if Chief Andrew, I believe, has more information on the actual orthophotography. I'm not up on that part.
I have a question then, is if some councils turn this down, will that mean our cost will go up? So
they asked for everyone to say whether or not they were interested. So this is based on those who did reply with an interested or not. So there are councils that could still deny that request, and you are right, the price could change at that point.
And, well, I'll go to Councillor Harper. I do have another question, but
point of order, Mr. Mayor. I believe that Justin Andrews was going to speak to this as well.
Oh, okay.
Well, that was
Before Councillor Harper put her hand up. Just a point of order.
My
Sorry.
apologies,
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Director Andrew. No, thank you for pointing it out. Director Andrew.
No worries. So this is certainly not my area of expertise, but I'm trying to fill in for Mr. McPhee, who wasn't able to be here. The conversations about this LiDAR and orthophotography has the benefit for the municipality as it's developing economically, and with the new MDP in place, it allows very accurate and detailed imagery to be taken that can be implemented for the strategic enhancement of our plans and our growth now, especially knowing which direction town will be growing on. So focus in the northeast section of Olds. It also allows for operations to utilize this material to see areas like topographical issues such as flooding or utility right-of-ways and items like that. And so in speaking with him, he feels that it's a very valuable tool for the work that he has to do in the next 4 to 5 years and longer. From emergency services perspective, we do utilize this mapping and technology for our response planning. Again, our map is 2017, and with the growth that Olds has seen, we have large areas that haven't been photographed or mapped, and we also use it for up-to-date emergency preparedness data as well. So the disadvantage of putting it off further is that it puts us behind, from my understanding, is another year beyond. So if we waited till next year to see if there was a grant, we likely wouldn't see the results of this until 2023. And the one thing that in speaking with Ben was that he wanted to put this photograph session off until the fall, and we would actually include both the roundabout and the new intersection on 70th Avenue, which would likely give us a very current map for the next 4 to 5 years with all of the vital infrastructure added. So that's the information I have. I just wanted to give you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Director Andrew. I have Councillor Harper, then Blatz.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. In reference to this, so the total cost would be 32,000. Is that if all of the municipalities within the Old Man River GIS system take part in it? And so if they don't, and we have to be only one of like 5 municipalities, do we know what those extra costs would be?
Director Linderman.
I don't know if CAO Merit has more to add to that.
I think you answered earlier, Director Linderman, is that this is the status as of for last week. Those that have agreed to participate, again, I'm not sure if all of them have taken this to council, has a budget adjustment. I can't speak to that. So we would have to basically indicate otherwise, conditionally, I would say, if it's approved, that this is dependent on this being the final number for the town of Olds. If they say we can't guarantee that, then I don't think we can move forward till we get that guarantee on this exact number. And I do believe Justin did indicate that we do have our annexation will include 3 quarter sections, which would be included in this information. Again, further mapping out the town has a growing town, so to speak. So we would have to get back to you, and obviously we wouldn't pay the money until we found out for sure that this was the final number.
Excellent. Thank you very much, CAO. Councillor Blatz, or unless Councillor Harper, is it a follow-up?
Well, it would be a supplement to that. I would say that this is a very important thing in reference to economic development for our community. It's old already, and we should support this.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, that was going to be my comment, particularly with now annexation of new land, and Mr. Merritt basically has answered the questions that I was going to ask. My only question, though, would be if next year there's a grant that is applied for it and they're successful, we would be ineligible to get any grant money, would we not? Because we've already gone ahead with this project, Sheena?
Yeah, so they would not be able to apply for a grant for this project. If it
Right. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that I did not read that correctly. Thank you for that information.
Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Director Lindeman, do we know why they did not receive the grant money this year?
No, CEO Merit maybe does.
You're on mute.
Yeah. There's a number of applications to the ACP grant. I think they've added 10 million to it, but it's solely for elections. So basically the application just was one of many that did not get approval for this year. It certainly can happen in regards to it. We were the recipient of it for our recreation master plan, so we were very thankful for getting it, but there's no guarantee when you apply for ACP. It's one of those project-based ones that are limited in nature for the dollars available.
Excellent, thank you. All right, any further questions? Yes, Councillor Ryan.
Sorry, just to follow up on that comment then is that I would hate to start and go ahead and do something that there's a potential to get grant money in the future for, like, for the next year. You know, Director Lindeman did say there's no guarantees, but you know, there is money sitting there. So I always hate to walk away from money that is sitting there if there's an opportunity to try to get it.
Yep. All right, thank you, Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Worship. I have to agree with Councillor Ryan. I think if we can hold off 1 year, I don't think it's a major, you know, I don't think it's imperative that we get this this GIS done this fall. I think 1 more year, hopefully I don't have to eat my words, that I think we could hold off and see if there is a grant there. You know, just because we have some money that we were going to put into transfer over into operations reserve doesn't mean that we should spend it. So I think, in my opinion, I think we should wait until next year and then go ahead and see if there's a grant. If there isn't a grant, then okay, let's go for it. I don't think 1 more year is going to make that much of a difference. Just my opinion.
Okay, Councillor Thompson, and then I have a comment.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a different opinion. I believe this is work that's beneficial to the municipality for its safety planning through its fire department. It's also a beneficial project to the economic development of the community. And I think it's a feasible project to move forward with. We benefit as members of the Old Man River GIS system through that collaborative portion of working together. And yeah, we weren't successful with this grant, but we do have some work that needs to be done. Let's proceed.
Excellent. I'm going to be devil's advocate to the two previous comments. I think we want to be shovel ready as much as humanly possible for when we come out of COVID and the haze. We're being proactive with our MSI money and upgrading the two major intersections here at the town of Olds, so that we are ready and poised to pounce on any economic development initiative that comes our way. And I think this will aid it. So I support spending this money. I too hate leaving money sitting on a table anywhere. But I think if we want to be ready to seize any opportunities, we should do so. We haven't heard from Councillor Bennett yet, and she has her hands up. Then we'll come back to Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too agree that we should proceed with this. Anything to do with economic development and our planning and development, communications, protective services, all of those are affected by this. And if it was 1.3 million, perhaps I might have a different opinion, but 32,000 to encourage economic development, have everything in place. And I agree, we have to be shovel ready to accept any businesses that are going to come to Olds. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Worship. I pass.
Okay. All right. Any further comments, questions? We do have a motion on the table for approval of this initiative for $32,000.
There's a motion for several things on here. Are we approving one at a time or?
One at a time. Yep. The first one is the only motion we have on the table. The council approves adjustments to the 2021 approved operating budget as presented, and that's that $32,000 spending with regards to the GIS. So I will, sorry.
I believe all three are, oh no, that's capital. I apologize.
Yep. No, just the one issue on,
you're right, correct,
on the table right now. Alrighty, no more comments, questions, concerns. I will call for the vote. All in favor and opposed. All right, and that motion carries. All right, thank you very much. Let's move along, Ms. Linderman.
All right, so moving on to the two capital items. The first is the RCMP garage. It requested increase to the existing budget. So the RCMP garage currently approved in the capital budget is $100,000. RFPs were sent out and the cost came in much higher than anticipated. Since that time, the scope of the project has been significantly reduced and costs reworked. Even with these changes, the approved budget is significantly under the projected cost. So we are asking today for an increase to this budget of $130,000. That would bring the total cost of the garage to $230,000, and this project would be funded through MSI. The second ask is to add back into our capital budget the water and wastewater studies. These studies were in the originally approved 2021 capital budget and then removed once the provincial budget was passed and decisions in regards to MSI spending needed to be made. With the recent announcements of the federal gas tax being doubled in 2021, we are bringing them back as a priority. Due to the nature of the federal gas tax eligibility, these studies cannot be funded through federal gas tax, but we can shift the usage of MSI and federal gas tax on 70th Ave to allow the studies to be funded through MSI. And with that, I will open it up to any questions.
All right. Well, we have two items here. We should probably break these up, Mr. Merritt.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody's head is shaking. So
I agree. They had to be presented together as they are both capital adjustments, but they're not mutually inclusive of one another. One could be approved, or both can be approved, or both could not be approved. So yes, we should have the discussion on one and then the other one.
Okay. Well, let's start with a motion to approve the RCMP garage. If I could have somebody to make that motion. I see Councillor Overwater's hand up.
Thank you, Worship. So how do you want me to read the motion that's on page 46, or how do you want me to make a motion?
Well, that's a motion for both of them put together. So my suggestion would be that we approve the capital budget adjustment in the amount of $130,619. Is that correct, Director Linderman? For the RCMP garage.
Sorry, I'm just trying to bring up my capital budget. So if we do it separately, I have all the numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the garage itself, we'd need the 130,619, and I'll just get you a total capital budget so that the motion is complete.
Okay.
So it would be $12,815,538.
All right. So are you happy with that that motion, Councillor Overwater, that we approve an increase in the capital budget of $130,000, 619 for the RCMP garage, totaling the number that Director Linderman just gave us?
Sure.
Excellent. Okay. Questions?
So my question,
yeah,
following that motion I made, thank you, Your Worship. You're telling me now that this garage went from 99,000 to 230? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, and I will allow Director Andrew to tell you all about that.
I can hardly wait, because this must be some garage that
I can't wait.
It's some lumber price, among other things, I would imagine.
Okay. Director Andrew.
Yes. So the scope of this project, when we went out to RFP on it last year, I guess the concern that comes is that the first conversation had is that we call it a garage, but it is very much not. So this is not a residential garage that you would place on your property to park your car in. And so I
understand that part.
That's the hard piece. And so we went through a process where the RCMP gave construction demographics and things that they would like to see in a secure storage facility, if you will. And so when it went out to RFP and came back with the requirements or the pieces that they wanted to see, along with the conditions of building it, we saw a very vast array of pricing, and they were all substantially higher than even this number. We were pushing numbers of even close to $1 million, which absolutely floored us. So that's why we brought it back. We've done some more research. We completely revamped the scope of the project to look at what the absolute needs are, long-term and short-term. How do we get there most effectively in the building materials that are being priced? The big difference was that we were looking at a ICF type structure, which is styrofoam block filled with concrete. And now have gone back to even what a stick frame wood structure would be, although the pricing is scary for that too right now, given the circumstance. But the one piece that isn't accounted for in this project is the land grading and finishing that would be required for it. So even if it was built in the same location as the existing one right now, there's substantial grade work that would have to be done in order to facilitate the construction of it. One of that is to fix a long-standing problem that when it was placed there prior to the fire hall being located, the drainage and grading was not ever designed for the fire hall and or the parking lot. And so in the last 5 years, we've seen substantial water erosion in that area simply because it's a catch basin for all water and snow melt off the site. And so it's caused infrastructure issues there that will have to be corrected. And the other piece of this is that we would have to get rid of the existing structure and pay to do that. And so in our rescope, we've actually determined to move the structure into the back far corner of the existing property. And therefore, what it would allow us to do is build the facility, and then we could go through a different process of getting rid of the existing, where we could put it up for public auction and somebody else moves it, because the structure could be used for a residential garage or for other purposes, and give us the time to do that. So the construction of the new is not impacted on the fact that the old one has to be gone. But that grade work and the paving to fix it and to reestablish the proper parking area for the EMS staff, which is part of our lease with AHS, all comes with a bit of cost to make sure that it was put in properly and finished. And so the thing that comes across is that this price is substantial. That's the price to do this properly and be done with it and walk away. And so we wanted to make sure that you as council were informed of what that cost is to have it done, as opposed to saying we need 100,000 today to make a Band-Aid fix, and then tomorrow we need another 50,000, and so on and so forth. So we propose that this is the project cost to complete it. And if it works, then we're happy with that. And if it's not suitable, then we walk away from the project for the time being until we revisit it in the future.
All right. Is a supplemental or a new question, Councillor Overwater?
Well, I'm just kind of wondering what RFP we originally sent out. We knew that we needed a secure building. We knew it had to have certain criteria to it to house the stuff that the RCMP confiscate, and it has to be in a secure location, and on and on and on. So I guess I'm just really at a loss of words as to what kind of RFP was originally sent out, when all of a sudden it comes back saying, well, now we need a different secure building. Well, we knew we needed a secure building. So I'm just at a loss of words.
I think Director Linder or Director Andrew explained a fair amount of the extra stuff and the new stuff.
Well, not really. Like, what was the RFP that was originally sent out?
Director Andrew?
So the previous RFP that came out, there were provisions in place to do this construction through the winter, which added some costs to that as well because of the 2020 timeline. From my understanding now, forgive me because I wasn't directly involved in that RFP. That was prior to me becoming a director. So I'm taking some second information here, but the one piece that came up was the substantial costs that we were looking at was mainly in the foundation and the structure of the garage, which came in substantially high. And again, the piece that really got us on this that we said we need to take a look at is, are we building Fort Knox or are we building something that is secure? And so some further consultation with the RCMP about what their needs and requirements are substantially changed what the outcome is on this, and that we didn't have to sacrifice size, but we did cut back on the type of materials used and what was ultimately going to be secure versus ultra secure, if you will. And it all comes down to risk management on their side, is that they are not going to place items in that facility that would be of such critical value or security that it outweighed the security of the structure, if you will. So it's just a matter of them determining that they could put anything in there, the crown jewels versus we can park a few cars and some stolen property, and that analysis was applied to the difference.
All right, so I believe Councillor Harper, Councillor Blatz, Councillor Thompson, then Councillor Ryan. Councillor Harper. Oh, CAO. Sorry, let's have CAO chime in.
The councillors can ask. I don't have the RFP in front of me, but this was decided a few years ago, and we had a price specific dollar amount to go into. So basically, I think we put a limitation in regards to what the cost would be. The security, we probably did not have sufficient information on in regards to it. And basically the site relocation was not factored in. So those are three factors I think hopefully will answer Councillor Overwater's comments of what did we RFP. I think we probably limited it, the scope of this too much by the pressure point of a price, so to speak.
All right, let's go to Councillor Harper.
Well, I'm saying that despite what Chief Andrew has stated, that building Fort Knox, it still seems like that to the tune of $230,000, including site work. I think we just need to hold off onto this project, wait for a new staff sergeant to come in. He also might have some other ideas. Thank you.
Okay. I believe we're Councillor Blatz, then Ryan, then Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Mayor did answer part of my question. And the other thing that I was more interested in is the increased cost due to building materials. I mean, that's the biggest problem I think that we're going to be faced, because it doesn't seem like building materials are going to go down anytime soon. And the longer we wait, is this going to be just an ongoing process and a continuation that, I mean, we will be building Fort Knox before too long if we keep seeing the increased prices. So, you know, I think that's something we have to take into consideration. I mean, I know we've done some pricing on some minor renovations to our home, and I know what it will cost, and it's ridiculous, the amount of the price for lumber right now.
Absolutely. Councillor Ryan.
Actually, thank you, Your Worship, but I think Councillor Thompson was ahead of me, actually.
Councillor Thompson.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan and Mr. Mizichka. Actually, my question is more to the CAO. We've heard a lot about, you know, all the things that went wrong or could have increased the cost on this project and have. From a process standpoint, what could we have done better to ensure that the information was crisper when it came to council initially or was considered, so we're making better decisions moving forward?
It's hard to answer that specifically because it's been a few years and we were basically developing a capital budget around a specific number. I think that's a limitation that we probably didn't consider. We should have probably had it scoped out more by the officials of the RCMP and others to say, here's what we could do for that would be sufficient for their needs. This has been a project that's gone back and forth a number of times, and so it should have been a crisper process in my mind, but we were trying to do it under a certain budgetary constraint that probably, because of it being an RCMP building, probably was unrealistic at the time. And definitely the recent costs have probably gone up, but that wasn't the sole reason for this heightened cost.
Okay, so I have Councillor Ryan, then Overwater, then back to Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. When it was presented to us at the time, both of this project and the renovations inside the building, I said, you know, what is your budget? And it was sort of iffy as to what it was presented. Oh, well, it could be this or it could be that. It's going to be more than a garage cost for a residential building, but not that much more. But you know, so we put a budget in, and then we increased the budget because they came back and said, oh, well, it's going to cost us more. And now we're looking at over double. You know what? I think we put this on hold. We let the market sort of quiet down. Who knows what it's going to be like this time next year. The pressures of COVID and people building and building materials pressures might decrease by that time. Cost of lumber does go up and down, and you know, materials, the price of materials goes up and down. I think we need to put out a proper RFP with regards to exactly what we want. I have no idea what the size of the garage it ended up being, but it seems like we're building not even just a Fort Knox, but a Taj Mahal at this price. $230,000 seems, an incredible amount of money. And I think we put this on hold and we wait until next year when we talk about the capital budget and get an actual proper price presented to us so that we're not just shooting pie in the sky.
I think the more important, the staff sergeant in place and doing some more research with the RCMP.
That too. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But I agree with you too on that.
Thank you, Director Andrew, and then we'll go to Councillor Overwater, then Blatz.
So just in response with the putting out a proper RFP, I think the initial RFP was put out based on the RCMP specifications that came back. And so that's the hard piece in that, is that number was a very accurate RFP, given the scope following all of the RCMP recommendations on the construction of a facility that they completely endorse. So it was based on that number and based on those specifications that we did the project rescope, and where we, through consultation with the RCMP and the current acting staff sergeant, looked at what the necessities were of the facility and which ones we could lower. Obviously, in the fact that as the town of Olds, we provide the facility for their use. And so the question was asked is, what do you need to get by versus what is required? Because there is a very, very wide lens on that. And so at the end of the day, we eliminated a lot of the stuff that was part of that initial package. And based on that information we got from that RFP, that's where this valuation of $230,000 comes in. And there is contingency built into that fund, because the worst problem would be is if we came back from putting it out to RFP and it came back slightly higher than what the exact number we calculated was, and we look foolish again. So that is where that number comes from right now. It's not a guess. And I can assure you that based on the specifications in that original RFP, this is not a Taj Mahal. It is literally a wood frame structure with tin on the walls and basics of insulation and electricity inside. And unfortunately, like I say, we were looking at grade work for the existing site, and to put in the foundation for this one, that we're looking at between $60,000 and $70,000 for grade work, moving dirt. The actual stick frame cost of this structure is actually probably one of our lowest costs, simply because it's an open span wood frame. It's literally the concrete underneath of it and roofing materials and such. So that's where we're at with that number.
But Director Andrew, we have no idea what the size of this building is going to be. So first of all, that's something we should know. I have no idea how big this is, how much bigger it is than what was originally presented to us. And if the site scoping is that poor, then maybe we should look at moving it to another spot on the property. And if not, then, I don't know what we do from there, but maybe we should be looking at having our own staff try to do some of that site work. I don't know.
So
I just think it's a lot of money.
I don't disagree. In council package, the proposed size is 32 feet by 40. The existing is 24 by 32 in size, and there is actually a site map included about where it is in the existing location and where it's proposed. So again, the big piece is that dirt work comes with, there's a fairly substantial hole where that existing garage is, and we're talking 3.5 to 4 feet of depth, and that's why it's a big water trap. And again, that's been a long-standing issue right from the development. So it's certainly a problem that continues to plague us. That's all.
Okay. All right. I have Councillor Overwater, then Blatz, then Harper, then Thompson.
Thank you, Worship. I agree with Councillor Harper. I think we should wait until our Staff Sergeant Warren Wright comes, and our last Staff Sergeant, he's gone. So I think we can have a conversation with the new Staff Sergeant and give him and tell him what we are expecting when he goes out and finds out what is required from the RCMP to have a secure building. Maybe we already have that, Director Andrew, but I think we should get some input from the new staff sergeant. He can go out. He's been around many places. Who knows? Maybe he has secure buildings in his different posts that he was at, and he can give us some insight. And so, I mean, we can go around in a circle, but I think in all fairness, we should wait for our new staff sergeant to come and then have a good conversation with him going forward, and we can put together a really good RFP and go from there. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you. My comments have been made. I would just be repeating everyone else's.
Councillor Harper.
I concur.
Okay. Councillor Thompson.
In the RFD, Your Worship, there is a comment about contract obligations or commitments to another organization that using the parking space that we provide there. Director Andrew, will delaying this decision impact us or another organization unduly?
At current, as long as it's maintained, no, we are meeting all of our obligations.
Thank you.
Councillor Bennett, I think you were waving for a bit, and then Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Worship. I tend to agree that we could wait until the staff sergeant is in place, but this has been put off for another, for the past couple, 3 years already, and I would like to see the project completed.
Well, our new staff sergeant is imminent, so we can certainly have another budget adjustment come after Staff Sergeant Wright is in place and has a chance to review the file and make sure that he is on board with everything, and go from there. We can certainly look at it. I believe it's June 15th, Director Andrew, is that not correct? The landing point for Staff Sergeant Wright?
I just got word here to June 28th will be his first day.
June 28th, okay. That'll still give us some time to be nimble and maybe get it in before the construction season's over. Alrighty, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Worship. And I also think that we should look into where it is going to be located on the site, and keeping the existing building for something else. Well, why can't we use that still for, minor storage of things that are not necessarily need to be locked up in a Fort Knox, so to speak.
Okay. Councillor Harper, did you have something?
No.
No. Okay. So we have a motion on the table for this particular item, the RCMP garage. Yes, Councillor Harper.
Your Worship, if there seems to be a flavor for not approving this at this time, if we defeat the motion, it may not be able to come back. So would you prefer administration to have a tabling motion?
Mr. Merritt.
The comments at the end tended to be that way, that you would like to defer this to a further council meeting.
Okay. Alrighty then.
You have to change the motion that you're approving and defeating the amount that was presented, and you're deferring the decision on this till a future council meeting.
Okay, so we add to the motion we have on the table, Councillor Harper.
So, Your Worship, I would like to defer this motion to a future council meeting.
Okay.
Don't I have a motion on the floor?
You do. But we can,
table it.
We can table it. So your motion would be to table this motion.
Oh.
Okay, Councillor Ryan.
Well, I don't think that actually works, Your Worship, because we have specific numbers, and those numbers could change by the time it comes back. I suggest we put this motion to a vote and then put a new motion on the floor saying for directing administration to bring this item back at a later council date.
Mr. Merritt, if we defeat this motion, can we bring it back at a different time?
I don't see why you couldn't, but I'm going to ask the legislative clerk if I am correct in that.
Okay. Ms. McKinnon?
Hi, I believe you can bring back financials.
Yeah.
I believe it would be land uses that you would be restricted on how many months you would have to wait to bring it back again.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wonder if Councillor Overwater would like to withdraw her motion.
Well, I think what we've just gone through is that we should probably defeat this motion. So I think the proper line of etiquette here would be for Councillor Harper to withdraw her tabling motion, and then we go ahead, and if we defeat Councillor Overwater's motion, we can then move to have this brought back once the staff sergeant's in place. Councillor Harper, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I am perfectly fine with that.
So
Thank
you will
very
withdraw
much.
your tabling motion?
I will.
All right, so we have Councillor Overwater's motion on the table to approve the budget to $130,619, and unless there's any other clarifications or questions, I'll call for the vote on that. Seeing none, I will do just that. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion is defeated. All right, may I have a motion to bring this issue back once Staff Sergeant Wright is in place and has had time to address it? Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that we bring the issue, or the issue of the RCMP garage back to a future council meeting.
Excellent. Comments, questions, concerns regarding this motion? Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship. I'd ask that we have a new presentation on this project as well, so that council has an understanding of the scope of the project and that we're making a more informed decision of where we're landing.
Very good. Excellent.
Well, that would be part and parcel. It doesn't need to be part of the motion.
No. Yeah, very much so. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? No, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, that brings us to water and wastewater study. It's been so long. Director Linderman, can you remind everybody about this aspect?
For sure. So these were originally approved in the 2021 capital budget. And then with the provincial budget and the need to reallocate MSI dollars, we made a few changes and canceled some projects. When the federal gas tax was announced recently as doubling, we had decided that these were a priority and would like to bring them back.
Okay, so what you're asking is?
So it is, sorry, let me just, the water study is 105,000 and the wastewater study is 110,000, just to bring these back into the budget. Along with that, we will be reallocating money between federal gas tax and MSI on 70th Ave, just because these don't qualify in the federal gas tax, but they do qualify under MSI.
Okay, so you're asking us for $205,000 in the 2021 capital budget.
215,000 as an addition to the capital budget.
205 and or 105 and 110.
Yeah.
Okay. And that, what would that bring us now that we've defeated the other one? What would that bring us to a total capital budget for the year?
It would be $12,899,919.
Okay, yes, that looks right on my end. All right, comments, questions, concern, or may I have the motion? Sorry, I need that first, I guess. Councillor Harper.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I so move that the water and wastewater studies for a total of $215,000 be approved for the capital, but be adjusted for the 2021 capital budget in the amount of $12,899,919. Does that make sense?
Very much. All right. Comments, questions, concerns regarding this motion? I think it's clear as mud. No, it's very good. All right. If there's no comments, questions, we'll vote on that. All in favor? And opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much, everybody. And let's keep moving along. We have item 6C, Business Impact Survey, CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. As you are aware, we conducted a business impact survey, and we had a number of responses that was presented at the last council meeting. From that, there was to be some follow-up actions in regards to further assistance to our business community for consideration of council, and I'll ask Director Lindeman to speak to those additional items that we're bringing forth for your consideration and possible approval.
All right, thank you. So as CEO Merritt said, the budget impact survey was presented to council on May 10th. The feedback provided showed that all of the initiatives put forth by the town of Olds was the programs that had put dollars directly into the hands of business owners were the most beneficial. So with this in mind, we are coming today with 3 tangible actions that could be implemented quickly in order to help support local businesses. Our first suggestion is to extend the current waiver of the development permit fees to December 31st. The second suggestion is to eliminate the July 1st, 2021 property tax penalty. So tax notices were sent out with the June 30th due date, but by eliminating the July 1st penalty of 5%, this would give businesses an extra 60 days to pay without penalty. This would require a tax penalty amending bylaw, which could be brought back to the next council meeting. And lastly, the third suggestion is to bring back the reopening grant, perhaps call it the business operating grant. This grant was easy to administer, easy to apply for, and got money into the hands of business owners quickly. Being suggested today is exactly the same qualifications as the reopening grant had. It would be available to both storefront and home occupations, with the only requirement for approval being a valid business license. And with that, I will open it up to questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. All righty, so let's start with a motion on the first item here. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the town of Olds waive development permit fees pertaining to the residential and commercial, industrial, institutional, recreational categories of the development permit fees section on Schedule E bylaw 2020-17, that being the rates bylaw for the entire 2021 year.
Excellent. All right, comments, questions, concerns regarding this motion? Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not necessarily this particular single item, but when we were having discussions at some point along the way, when we were talking about doing this, helping out businesses, did we not have some kind of conversation with regards to old spucks? So I was just wondering what was going on with that idea.
Mr. Merritt?
Yes, thank you very much. That was one of the ideas, number once we considered. At this time, it would be very difficult to get that program underway in the next month or two. We're seeing that the need is to bring forth projects that will get cash into the business's hands readily. There was a number of administrative issues. We did consult with a few other locations that had similar programs, and they were much more limited and much in scope. And so we just saw there was too many difficulties in delivering that for this meeting here. It is something we may look at again and bring back maybe for the holiday season this later this year and such, but it was just not feasible to bring this forth.
Okay, thank you. I just thought it was an interesting idea and something we should continue to explore.
I do want to say that we did put a lot of time and effort into it. We thought it was very interesting, but the complications with it would have necessitated we wouldn't have been able to bring it to this meeting anyway. It would have taken at least a number of other weeks to get more details. So thanks very much for that comment.
Councillor Overwater, then Harper, then Thompson.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I do see that Director Linderman did send out an email regarding that on May 20th. And I like the idea of maybe bringing it back. Maybe we could bring it back for Midnight Madness. You know, get people more. I see you've got Oldstoberfest and Old Fashioned Christmas, but you know, maybe Midnight Madness. Hopefully, some of the restraints from regulations from COVID, AHS, and all of that will be relaxed a bit. And you know, it seems like a lot of people go out for Midnight Madness. So if we could get maybe those old bucks into their hands then, and you know, really that might really help the businesses for you know, part of this year anyway. Just a thought.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Overwater. Councillor Harper.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'd just like to pass on some kudos to our administration and council for putting this together to start out with. I've been in conversation with a couple developers. They said that they were very appreciative of the fact that the town of Olds did in fact waive these fees for the first 6 months. And I think they'll really enjoy the fact that they're seeing the support of the town of Wolves by waiving them for the next 6 months.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship, I support this notion as well. Again, this puts money directly into the hands of business. It supported those restaurants that were needing to develop patios and things. And again, this goes right into their pockets, and I support it.
Excellent. All right, Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I certainly do support having this in place again for a longer period of time. I had suggested the idea originally, and I fully back it for the rest of the year. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, unless there's any other questions, comments, concerns, we have one motion on the table. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, who would like to make the second motion on this RFD?
Sorry, Your Worship.
Yes.
So will administration be bringing back something with the Olds bucks for, you know, whether it's Oldstoberfest or Midnight Madness, or will you be bringing something back on that?
CAO Merritt.
We are going to do further research in it and see what we can do administratively. One of the primary features of all things we want to bring back is that it's administratively simple, not only for ourselves, but for our business community as well. So that's what we'll be looking into to make sure that what we're bringing back is doable and it is secure.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. All right, the second motion on the RFD. Councillor Harper.
So moved that administration bring back to the next council meeting a tax penalty amending bylaw to eliminate the July 1st, 2021 current taxes penalty.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I like this one as well because this, I assume this is both residential and non-residential. And this will help the individuals who have had employment interruptions or lost jobs or whatever it happens to be. That'll help them considerably. So, Councillor Blatz.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I too agree with this one. I think it is very good and very beneficial for all residents and businesses who have struggled and are going to continue to struggle until we see some of the restrictions that can be lifted and we return to whatever the new normal perhaps might be in the community.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That motion carries. All right, let's move along to the third item on this RFD. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Worship. I move that the town of Olds implement a business reopening program granting up to $500 per eligible business located within the town of Olds.
Excellent, thank you. Comments, questions, concerns, Councillor Harper.
Well, Your Worship, I do support this in theory, but I recognize that certain businesses have been hit a lot harder than others. And I look at the personal care businesses, they've been forced to shut down on 3 occasions at least. I also look at the movie theater. It's been forced to shut down again, where other businesses in town have continued to operate. So I really feel that we need to put a little bit more thought into this.
Okay. No, I was thinking along the same lines. I was wondering if maybe we shouldn't have this one maybe a little bit more money and eligible for the businesses that were shut down this for the 3rd time, gymnasiums, restaurants, movie theaters, and personal services that have been affected. So back to, let's go to Councillor Overwater and then back to Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Worship. Was this a grant initially not for like PPE supplies and stuff like that? So now there's no stipulation is what we're saying. They just come in and I'm a business, I got a business license and I get $500.
There really was no stipulation in the first time either. The only eligibility was that you had a business license.
I thought it was for PPP, like for...
That's what it was, to help cover those things, but we did not ask for any sort of receipts or anything like that.
Okay. CAO?
Yeah, thank you, Director Lindeman. That's exactly it, to keep it administratively simple, that we did highlight that it was a reopening for those purposes, but we weren't going to do an audit and such on that because, again, administratively, it'd be very difficult. So again, this grant was designed to be quick, to get money into the hands of those businesses that have suffered. The initial take-up of the reopening grant was probably not great because I think a lot of businesses that were doing well were not applying for this purpose. The moment you start putting restrictions in, then you're going to have to basically start checking things through a lot more. And again, administratively, we would certainly do that if it's required. But again, the initial thought here was to get businesses are hurting. What they really said, as Director Lindeman said, get cash into our hands. Cash is king, kind of, as we are hurting right now. And so that was the entire thought behind this business operating grant, is to get operating dollars to them.
Okay. Councillor Harper.
Thank you very much for that thought, administration. But I still stand firm the fact that there was only particular businesses this time, well, 3 times now they've been forced to shut down. And I would prefer to have one of the criteria be under Alberta Health Services guidelines, was your business forced, your storefront business forced to shut down? And it's really not that hard to check.
Councillor Thompson.
I appreciate what Councillor Harper is saying. Unfortunately, so many businesses have had to close because of breakouts or groups within their centers that have caused them to close under other restrictions that are AHS regulated. And so again, I think this one could be administratively heavy if we start to do that. I appreciate what she's saying. I think it would be great to get it to those who need it most, but may be cost prohibitive to administer.
CAO?
We did consider the situation of the restaurants, specifically in regards to who's closed and who's open. And again, it's a fine line. Technically, they're not closed. They're open for takeout and things of that nature. They're not open for patio or for in-store. So those ones are suffering, we understand from the survey, tremendously, and we did not want any sense that we would be saying no because you were still open for business, so to speak, because you've been closed down for your main businesses. So technicalities, we did not want, we were concerned about language being a barrier.
Councillor Ryan, then Overwater.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for that clarification, Mr. Merritt. I kind of agree with you on that comment. You know, we don't want to prohibit, you know, put up any roadblocks to prevent businesses from getting the help they need. And certainly those businesses that never applied the first time for this will more than likely not be applying for this time. You know, I think we have to make it as easy as possible to administer and simple for businesses to apply if they have had closures. And I know what Councilor Harper's saying, but I think we need to have it simplified as much as possible. Yeah, there's all, you know, there's more than just the restaurants and you know, the movie theater and that have been affected by this, as Council Thompson has said. There could be other ones out there that we don't know about or we're unaware of the circumstance.
Yep, very much so. Councillor Overwater, then Bennett.
Thank you, Worship. I have faith in our businesses. As Mr. Merritt has stated that, you know, the ones that didn't need it the first time around, I believe they won't come forward for it. They understand that, you know, we're in a financial situation as well. So I'm quite happy to just leave it the way it is. And I have faith in the businesses that the ones that need it will come forward, and the ones that don't need it, they won't apply for it. So that's my opinion. Thanks.
All right, Councillor Bennett, then Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe that we need to make this universal, like childcare benefit, perhaps. And let's not put more roadblocks in front of the businesses. I understand what Councillor Harper is saying, but I too believe that our businesses will make the best decisions themselves. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too, well said, Councillor Overwater. I appreciate Councillor Harper's comments, but I do believe that the businesses that don't need it will not be applying, and those that do, it gives them an opportunity. And this way, administration is not going to have to be weaning out who should or shouldn't. It's just a gesture that will be carried through, and I believe that we should support this.
Yeah, I agree.
Excellent. All right, well, we do have a motion on the table, so I will call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion carries as well. Excellent work. Thank you very much, administration, Mrs. Lenderman and Mr. Merritt and the executive team. I know that was a lot of work to get done. CAO, you're on mute, sir.
There was a lot of other staff involved in this, so that's why we thought things through in regards to restrictions. We got some great ideas and some real good comments of what to be worried about. Let's keep it simple. I think Director Lutz is still on with us, and she was quite involved with the survey and also coming up with these ideas, but so was the Secretariat as well. So it was a combined effort, and I know with that Heather Dixon had quite a few good suggestions or thoughts in regards to it. So it was a collective effort of administration, and we do appreciate Council giving us the opportunity to bring these to you.
Excellent. And I'd encourage that whole group that brainstormed these great ideas, do a little more work on the Olds Bucks idea, and maybe we can have that in August or something to come up for the fall season. Excellent. All right, so that's business impact survey. That brings us to the end of new business. So let us move along to reports from councils, boards, committees. Who would like to start with a motion and lead us off? Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the reports from councils, authorities, boards, committees, commissions ending May 25th, 2021 be received for information, and I submitted my report last week. I have nothing more to add to it.
Excellent. Yeah, we had a few late stragglers in, but I'm sure Ms. McKinnon, you'll be able to put those into our first available regular council meeting minutes so that the public can see these written reports that council has submitted. There was a few that were too late to get into this agenda package, but we'll get them in for next. I'm just going to go on my screen all the way around. Councillor Thompson, you're next on my screen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sorry about my slow response here. So yeah, I have submitted a report now, and I did participate in the CAO performance evaluation, the regular council meetings, and the policies and priorities committee meeting. I did participate in the ad hoc committee meeting for the review of council's code of conduct, and we've been reviewing, of course, the code of conduct bylaw, but also council policy 103C, the terms of reference, 107C, the elected official appointments, and policy 113C, public at large appointments. Councillor Overwater has been our chair, and I believe we're scheduled to come back later next month with those recommendations. On May 20th, the Municipal Planning Commission meeting I attended, we reviewed 5 applications, 2 for secondary suites, 1 for garage compliance, and 1 for a change of use of the land itself, as well as reviewing some variances relative to setbacks at a mobile park. That one is yet to come back to council. Beyond that, on a personal note, I had an opportunity to speak at a conference, and yeah, just attend to usual duties. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Worship. I too have sent one in, and it was late to be added on, so it will be on the website. I too have attended all regular meetings of council, PP, broadband, CAO annual review with goal setting for 2022. At the CAO and council conversation, our discussion on the service level review was summarized by Kelly Lloyd and will be brought forward to a regular council meeting. With less money coming in from the province over the next 2 years, the town has done a good job allocating our funds and presenting balanced budgets. And in the future, spending cuts are a part of the Municipalities of Alberta future. I attended the ICC meeting with the county, and the town attempted to gain traction on some issues. I also attended the regular Olds Institute meeting as well as the Olds Institute annual general meeting. Financials were reviewed, and further, a report from Chair Brett Muzichka noted a strategic plan moving forward for a back to grassroots movement and how to become sustainable. Council CAO Mayor Doug Wagstaff and Ben McPhee toured the new town of Olds Operations Center, and what a terrific building it is. It's great for now and has the capacity to expand as the town population increases. There are many energy efficiencies built into this building, and with much of the equipment stored indoors, the life of that equipment is increased. Further council discussions will include electric vehicle charging stations in Olds, getting value from Sunshine bus usage, and what might be included in the future. Upcoming events include the Lions Pug Day on June 4th and our PCPS AGM on June 24th, as well as a regular meeting for PCPS. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Ryan.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. I submitted a written report, so you all have a copy and can read it. The only thing I want to highlight that I forgot to, or I guess I didn't forget, I did put in about the population figure with regards to what Parkland Regional Library will be using. That increases our number by, let me see, 569. So it'll make a difference as to what position will happen in the future, even if there is a 0% increase. And yeah, I've attended a lot of the council meetings and other meetings that the rest of the council has done, and that's all I have.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Harper.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I won't read my report, but I will highlight one item, and that's that Mountain View Regional Water Services Commission has indeed reviewed its water restriction policy and actually reaffirmed that policy that was sent or will be sent to all the member municipalities. And the water flow has remained fairly steady, so the water quality has remained very good as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I attended all the same meetings, Council, PNP, Broadband, CAO review. I chair the Cape Central Alberta Economic Partnership Policy Committee. We reviewed staff policies. I chair the Code of Conduct Ad Hoc Committee, and yes, we will be bringing back changes June 7th for some recommendations and full discussion with all of Council. Public Art Committee, we discussed in great length graffiti/street art information, and we decided that we needed way more information, that this was just not a easy answer, yes, we want it, no, we don't. So anyways, our administration will bring back more information on that. Judy Douglas, she is our newest member, and to our sadness, Renew Matthews had to resign as she is just too busy. The I Love Olds photo contest is in full swing, and the winners will be announced September at Cultural Days. I too toured the Olds Operations Center, and it was very impressive, and it was with great vision that the council and administration have built this building and storage area for the future and just not for today's needs. So that is very good. Thank you to administration for that. There was many presenters. It was a very long 2 days. We started at 8 o'clock in the morning. We went till 6 o'clock for the Economic Developer Association conference. And I really hope that our Economic Development Officer, our Secretariat, they really tap into the Western Economic Diversification of Canada Fund, because they too support entrepreneurs, innovation in funding, they support not-for-profits. There's many things that they support, and I have the information in my report, so hopefully staff will read it. Also, there was many other, just let me find my spot here. Olds College, I did not know this. They have 70 partners that work with their 2,800 acre smart farm operation, which is very impressive. I believe they get quite a bit of money from those partners. And I think a lot of other colleges are envious as to the support that Olds College gets. The Aerospace Transportation and Logistics Committee, there are 16,000 jobs in aerospace in Alberta. I didn't realize we were that prominent in the aerospace community, so that was interesting. There was a big long presentation from Todd Hirsch as to what his predictions were. Alberta is open to digital technologies, artificial intelligence. Companies that are using technology to recover will outlive ones that do not use the advanced technologies that are available. Alberta has seen a 149% increase in tech companies. According to Steve Lang of Rogers Internet of Things states, every company is a digital company today, and every company will be an artificial intelligence company tomorrow. The film industry in Alberta is growing and is open for business. They had an 80,000 square foot building made into a studio. They have since leased another 450,000 square feet. So the film industry, if you want to be a sidekick on some movie or take acting lessons, the film industry is very prosperous in Alberta. And this is a did you know? The best whiskey in the world comes from Alberta grains. The biggest whiskey producers come to Alberta for their grains to make their product. Again, something our grain producers could capitalize on. Also, there was lots on the website, which was very interesting as to, they stated, if you throw a great party but don't send out the invitations, then no one knows to come. So normal is average, and average doesn't seem like I want to aspire to. So just remember, we want to be We want to be an anomaly. We want to be something that is different from everybody else. Our website is our public face, and it needs to be done right. Everything needs to go back to our website. So whatever you're putting out there, you need to make sure that you have names, you have phone numbers, you have places where people can go to and it's easily accessible. If you don't, there's no point in having your website there. It was very interesting, that part. There was another part, waste to wear. What they have is this lady takes plastics. She's has a company in Montreal and a company overseas, and she takes all kinds of plastics and she makes, whether it's clothing, bags, she makes workwear. And I do have her information in my report again, and I believe that's something that possibly the town of Olds should look into, so that we can promote that. And I think that is a business that out here in Western Canada, in Alberta, that's an entrepreneur business that could be readily gotten into. So hopefully maybe our secretariat can look into that and get that promoted. Anyway, I hope you all read my report. I know it's a very long one, but as I said, the Economic Development Association, it was a very good conference. There was so much information. So please read the report, and I hope administration will look at some of the websites that I have in there for economic development. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. For my report, in addition to many of the aforementioned committee meetings and regular council meetings and ad hoc meetings and so forth that I attended, I did attend the Mayors of South Central Alberta monthly meeting. We did receive an excellent presentation from the National Police Federation. And that organization is set to take over basically as the RCMP's union. So it was very, very interesting to see the presentation that they had. And obviously they were lobbying very much to have Alberta not look into their own police force and to continue the contract with the RCMP. So we did get a chance to ask questions and make comments. The biggest comment that I had to offer was our experience right here in the town of Olds. And Director Andrew, I did lobby the new union into re-looking at the way they fill staff sergeant positions. Of course, we ran into the issue where the town of Olds was offered one candidate as opposed to having a number of candidates with which to choose from, and the town having some input into that process. So I did share our experience, and although it does look like it should work out very well, the process in my estimation and many of the other mayors in that group did concur with me that process is very limiting, and it's something that should they did indicate that they would take a very hard, long look at. So that is pretty much my report as well. So I believe, did we get a motion to accept for information? Councillor Blatz did do that. So unless there's any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the presentations, I will call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That motion carries. All right, let's keep moving right along as time is getting late. On to item 8A, quarterly financial report. I think we go straight to Director Linderman.
Perfect time for financials as time gets late, right? Yep. All right, so included in your agenda are the financials for the first quarter of 2021, that being January 1st to March 31st. At 25% of the way into 2021, our operating budget is 17% spent and our capital budget is 19% spent. At this point of the year, I have nothing significant to report on. Everything is as it should be or better. There is one new addition that was included in the agenda. It was attachment number 5. This is the council CAO remuneration. It is spelled wrong in the agenda. As a whole, at 25% through the year, council remuneration is 21% spent. This document will also be available to the public on our website each quarter after it has been presented to council. I would open it up now to any specific questions.
All right. May I start with a motion, please? Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I hesitated seeing if anyone else would raise their hands, but I will move that the financial report for the 3-month period from January 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2021 be accepted for information.
Excellent. Comments, questions, any concerns? I think it's great news that we are well within our budget and doing well for the first quarter, and look forward to that continuing effort. I know the summertime tends to, especially with capital, we tend to spend a lot more heavy in the summer, as that's the building and construction season. So I don't think we'll stay at 17 or 19% on either of those budget lines, but that is typical of Canada and our construction season. Alrighty, if there's no other questions, comments, or concerns, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And opposed? Motion is carried. Excellent. Let's continue on. CAO, correspondence and information.
Thank you, Your Worship. And there are 10 pieces of correspondence for this meeting. First one is from Southern Alberta Energy from Waste Association, SAWA, and that's the board meeting highlights. The next two items are B and D on your agenda. It's Town of Toolfield has written to both the health minister in the province and to the member of parliament, indicating that the COVID situation has had probably a more negative impact on rural municipalities than urban municipalities with the vaccination rollout and with the basically restrictions that have been applied. Number C is the Red Deer River Municipal Users Group, and it's an indication that the executive director position is available for recruitment, I believe, due to a retirement from their group. E is the Municipal Government Board sent a notice to the town in regards to its application, its annexation application. This was discussed earlier in our closed session, and basically their note was very positive, and with the action of writing a letter to the MGB from the mayor today will enhance that, and the likelihood of a public hearing is significantly been reduced. The next item is in regards to F, and it's the municipal affairs letter on what our MSI allocations would be for the upcoming year. There was no surprise. Director Linderman had already highlighted almost to the cent what they would be, but this was official confirmation of both the operating and the capital dollars coming to the town of Olds. And as you know, this year we'll get a bit more, but the next 2 years will be a decrease, and we have developed a plan to address that. The next item is in regards to 3 items. The mayors of Claresholm, Raymond and Redcliffe have all written to the province in support of the RCMP and against the proposed provincial police service. And last, the town of High Rivers mayor has written to the province in regards to the Alberta coal restricted policy and have developed 3, and I think they're very important, 3 principles that they see moving forward in regards to the development of the coal strategy for the Eastern Slopes. So those are the 10 pieces of correspondence that were sent to us. As I indicated at the last meeting, we will get more in regards to the coal policy and probably get more in regards to the RCMP.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. May I have a motion to accept for information? Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that correspondence and information report ending May 25th, 2021 be received for.
Excellent. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, I'll call. Whoa, that was last minute. Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Your Worship. You know, I just want to make it a point of saying that I am not against the RCMP, but I just do feel that communities need more input, and we need to get that through AUMA to advocate that we need more input as to what individual communities need in their community. Just because we're a town of 9,400 and there's another town of 9,400, we do not have the same needs and criteria and priorities that they do. So I just, you know, I think that needs to be really pushed through AUMA when they're, you know, advocating about the new police act that they're reviewing. You know, I think I just don't want this to be a slam dunk that, you know, we're happy with everything that the RCMP is doing, because we're not. And, you know, we're really, we want to have a say, is my opinion. So.
Yeah, and that was the resounding theme to all the mayors in the South Central presentation to the National Policing Federation. So excellent. All right. Unless there's any other questions, comments, concerns, we have a motion on the table. I'll call for the vote. All in favor and opposed. Excellent. All right. That motion is carried. That brings us to 2 closed sessions we have. Again, I will inform the public if you want to continue participating. There's 2 ways to continue participating. We are going to go into a closed session, to 2 closed sessions actually. You may click on leave the meeting button and leave the meeting and watch our Town of Olds website and Facebook pages for live updates as to when council will return. Administration will post when the meeting will reconvene, and meeting attendees can rejoin the meeting at that time. Or you can stay online and in the virtual meeting platform, and administration will move all the attendees into the waiting room. And when council's done their closed session, again, we'll have it on the social media and website. You can just, you'll be brought back into the regular meeting session at that point in time and continue on from there. So I do have 2 closed sessions. We had one on the agenda and then there was an added item. So I will ask for a motion for the first. I believe it is an ICC update. So I'll ask Chairperson Harper to make that motion, and who is going to stay for that portion.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I so move that council goes to closed session under FOIP Section 25, disclosure harmful to economic and other interests of a public body. I would ask that council, along with CAO Merritt, Fire Director Andrew, and Director Wagstaff, and Director Lindeman attend.
Excellent. Comments, questions, concerns on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor and opposed. Excellent. All right. The second item in the closed session will be an Olds College update. That's my addition. But as is customary, I don't make motions. So I'll ask somebody to make that motion for me. And it will be council and CAO Merit only in that session. Councilor Overwater.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I move that we go into a closed session for FOIP number 16, and council and Mr. Merritt is needed there.
Excellent. Comments, questions, concerns in that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor and opposed. Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Fox.
Oh, how exciting that is.
That's everybody?
Somebody
we lost that many people?
Jeez.
All right.
Doug Sealing
Okay.
or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll call today's meeting back to order. Do we have a Horizon report? Where did Councilor Harper go? There she is. Councilor Harper.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I move that the town of Olds request the Minister of Municipal Affairs to inform Mountain View County to enter into the dispute resolution process regarding the fire services sub-agreement as outlined in the ICF master agreement.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any comments, questions, concerns? Councillor Overwater.
Just a verbiage comment there. Can you put in brackets what ICF stands for? Because possibly when our residents are reading some of this stuff, they don't necessarily understand what ICF means.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
Legislative clerk. Yeah, you've captured that. All right, Councillor Ryan.
Yes, I think we should still say sub-agreement with the town of Olds, so that it's clear that it's our sub-agreement with the Mountain View County.
Absolutely, we can do that as well. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor and opposed. The motion is carried. Excellent. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of our agenda and to adjournment. Who would like to move adjournment? Councillor Overwater. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody have a great night.